Yes, good evening all of you. Myself Dr. Suraj Suryanshi, and obviously I'll be taking paper 4 2017 discussion. Okay. Yes, before even starting with the first question, let me be, how many of you have appeared this year? This year, wrote the paper 4, obviously. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if you see this year's paper compared to last year or all the previous year paper of 3-4 years, so you will find quite a change, okay, compared to even the last year's. Last year's paper was very factual, very technical, and it is more related with the thinkers portion. They are asking directly questions from the thinkers, like say for example, they have asked Rawls' theory of justice. They have asked this Max Weber's theory of bureaucracy. They have asked the Kautilya's view on corruption. And then they have asked one more question, the Gandhi's 7 scenes also. So if you see the last year's paper, so it was very technical. This year's paper as compared to that, you will not find any single question which you cannot tackle, like so-called very technical question that you don't know anything about it. So that was not the case. That is one thing. And second thing is, again, to compare with some other previous year paper, okay, last year the question was more public administration related. If you see, the more questions were asked from the RTI, accountability, etc., etc., and they were asking more from the probity in governance. That too, probity in governance, not the philosophical aspect, but a technical aspect again, that is the administrative aspect. But this year also we see, although there are questions from the probity in governance, but they are again more principle oriented, philosophical oriented, and not a technical oriented. So overall, if you see this year's paper, I would rate that compared to all 3-4 years, this was the best paper. Best in a sense that you had a plenty of scope to write and to impress the examiner, obviously. But if you have not done your homework, then it's quite possible that you are beating around the bush and writing the same word, same terminology, as something called tautology, okay, saying the same thing again and again. It is very important, it has to be done, it should be done, etc., etc. So this paper has a good scope to score 140, 150 also, provided that obviously you are prepared well. And second is the contemporary examples that you see and the contemporary happenings, they find the reflection in the paper directly. Obviously, when we will discuss the paper, you will see that how there was a much scope. We are going to, yes, obviously discuss the model answers, but let me say at the outset, whatever the discussions that we are going to have, those are not the fixed answer. Those are not, okay, there are plenty of other ways to write the answers also, okay, because this is an open-ended question paper. I hope all of you have got the paper, okay. So we will straightforward start with the questions. Like first we'll start with this conflict of interest question. So I'll read the question. Conflict of interest in public sector arises when public duties, personal interest and personal interest are taking priority one over the other. How this conflict in administration be resolved? Describe with examples. Now if you see this conflict of interest question, this was already asked again in 2014. Okay, in theory part there was a last question. What do you understand by conflict of interest? Why I am mentioning, because most of the questions have been asked in 3 years. It also means that you should go back and see the previous year's paper, and you will find that I would say that 50% of the question have been repeated again. The same theme has been repeated. In fact, this question was as it is come from 2 years back question paper. So conflict of interest, we'll discuss this question as the theory part question. Conflict of interest, see, even if they have given this official interest, public interest and personal interest, this conflict of interest is not simple that one interest is coming in conflict with second interest and therefore you call there is a conflict. Okay, there is a something technicality which is attached to this concept, that is a conflict of interest. This conflict of interest happens when an individual has public duty, okay, or public interest which come in conflict with his personal interest. Now this personal interest, if you see in any particular decision, there is always a personal interest. There is always, in a sense, that if you are looking out for corruption, okay, if you are looking out for some monetary gain, material gain, any other personal benefits, that personal interest is going to remain there in all the situations. But when we are saying about the conflict of interest, these are the situations when, from the eyes of public, it's very obvious that you are going to go by the public interest also. So in the eyes of public, the situation is created wherein you may go by the personal interest or the public interest. Let's take an example, like a very popular example, that if you are heading a panel and 4 members are applied for the interview. One of the member one of the applicant is your relative. Now since one of the applicant is your relative, so there is a conflict of interest because you are supposed to follow the public interest, that is selecting the person on the basis of merit. But at the same time, there is a possibility, because he or she is your relative, from the eyes of public, there is always a suspicion. All of you are understanding this, because this point is very important in example. Question very categorically say, describe it with examples. So in each examples, you have to show that how the situation is arising wherein public interest comes in conflict with the personal interest. So you can start by this definition itself, that is, conflict of interest is a situation wherein public interest comes in conflict with the personal interest. Now elucidate it by examples. You can give contemporary examples if you are following the this current newspapers. So there is a Chief Justice of India and his conflict of interest, because there is a suspicion that the corruption related with the medical recruitment, or one decision that has to be go in favor of medical examination something, and there is a pointer at the Chief Justice of India also. Now in such cases, Chief Justice himself cannot be a decision maker. In fact, there is a very important statement that in case of it is being said that one cannot be a judge in his own case. Okay, so that's a very catch. See, I would also advise you to always use 1 or 2 catchphrases which are related with different questions. Like in case of conflict of interest, this statement is very famous, that you cannot be a judge of your own case. Okay. Then there was a case in Karnataka Legislature Assembly. So there was a violation of the privileges of the Karnataka Legislature by some magazines or newspaper. So they were taking the case with respect to the violation of privileges of legislature. So one of the party, if you are also one of the party to a decision making and you are also taking the decision, then you may compromise the decision. In the third case, you can write this BCCI case also. Okay, that is a Srinivasan who was heading the BCCI president also, and he was a owner of the Chennai Super King franchisee also. So you are also heading the particular judgment, and you are also a franchisee of a particular case. So BCCI case. There was one important again case where the BD manufacturer was a part of parliamentary committee which was going to take the decision what warning and what should be the size of warning on the tobacco products. Now he himself is a manufacturer and he himself is a person in the parliamentary committee's body. Now can you see the conflict of interest? Yes, you are running the business on the tobacco, and then you are also taking a decision whether what should be the size of advertisement and etc. And what has happened is he influenced the decision making, which has obviously benefited the tobacco products and their manufacturers. So you have to find out different number of cases. One case is enough, because the question is saying that how to resolve the conflict of interest. So you can classify this question into 3 parts. First is the definition of conflict of interest. Second is what are the examples of conflict of interest. Now third is with respect to how to resolve the conflict of interest. How to resolve the conflict of interest, there are very standards that are being followed. Okay, there are fixed standards. First of all, a person who is going to take the decision or a party to the decision, if there is a personal interest, he should declare it. So the first step is declaration of conflict of interest. First step is declaration of conflict of interest. And obviously the second stage is he should request for recusal from the case. He should request for the recusal. Recusal means he should not be party to such decision, because if he is party to the decision, now think of, even if he continues to be the party to the decision, and let's for a while understand that he takes the decision on the basis of objectivity, not on the basis of his personal interest. What's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with that? If he continues to remain a part of it and he takes the decision on the basis of objectivity without declaring the conflict of interest. Yes, public will always have this suspicion. Why conflict of interest? It is being said that justice not only should be done, but it should appears to be done in the eyes of public. Because in the eyes of public, no matter, even if you are upholding your conscience, you are following the objectivity, still public will have this suspicion. Maybe that particular personal interest you must have been used, or it must have been influenced. That's why recusal from the case is very important. So first is declaring, and second is recusing from the case. Now in many of the cases what happens, recusal is granted, okay, such as in case of judiciary, in case of other, where the other people of the equal merit is available, so that other people can take over you in taking the decision. But in many cases recusal is not granted, or maybe other persons are not available of equal acumen to take particular decision. So you will be again called for to take the decision. Now there is, since you have already declared it, since you have already requested for the recusal, now there is no more a case of conflict, and whenever you are taking the decision, you have to take the decision based upon the objectivity, transparency and accountability. So objectivity means I will objectively make the record of the decision. That is, whatever the decision that you are taking, you should write down what are the principles and the procedures that you have followed in arriving at the decision. That is objectivity. Transparency, obviously you have to keep this objective information into the public domain. And accountability is making yourself available for the scrutiny. That if at all people wants to scrutinize the decision, obviously you should make yourself available. Understood? So this is how you have to come out of the conflict of interest. So the three parts: definition of conflict of interest, examples of conflict of interest, and how to resolve the conflict of interest by declaring it, by recusal, and if at all you have to take the decision following the principles of objectivity, transparency and accountability. Okay, I hope the points are clear with respect to conflict of interest. Yes, please. No, say 10 marks, 150 words. It's just 1.5 page. Okay, so not required. See here the, yes, please. Upholding the, yes, you can write. Yes, these are the general principles. Yes, you can write that you should always uphold the public interest over the personal interest. Yes, certainly. Yes, let's move on to the next question. Examine the relevance of the following words with the context of civil services. Obviously, again, this form of the question was there in 2013 and 14 paper. That is, they have habit of asking these different words. Particularly, these words are Nolan Committee's recommendations, that is 7 principles, or ARC recommendation. This topic is from the aptitude and foundational values of civil services. So this was a very easy question. But the thing is, in this question, it's only 10 markers. It means that for 5 questions, only 2 marks. So how you are going to write, that is going to matter. So in such cases, your definition should be very accurate. So I would advise you Nolan Committee's 7 definition and ARC recommendation some 10 definitions. You should mug it up obviously after understanding. But otherwise, what happens? You beat around the bush. Okay, transparency, you are telling and telling and telling. You are also not convinced that I am able to convince the examiner. So you create and cook up the story. So that should not happen. Plus you should have one catchy line so as to give a larger perspective about the transparency. So transparency, how do you go about it? Like, see, in this case, The simplest addressing to this 5 questions, simplest way is, first you define it in one line, and second is write its relevance. Okay, so that's the simplest way. So transparency you can define as civil servants, while taking the decision or discharging the public duties, should act in an open manner. Okay, should act in an open manner. That is about the transparency, and you can write that what is the utility of transparency. Utility of transparency, it helps in curbing the corruption. It promotes the trust of the public in the system. It increases the legitimacy of the people, and it also promotes the public participation. So this is enough. If you want to add some statement, like it is being said that transparency is the biggest disinfectant which can curb the corruption in the system. It is also being said that transparency is a tool which can expose the gap in between political rhetoric and the actual development. So these type of statements also can be come handy while addressing such questions. I hope points are clear. Transparency. Accountability, you can write literal meaning of accountability is answerability. Right, that is civil servants are expected to remain answerable for their act of omission and commission. Now again, right significance, you can see that lack of accountability is a reason for misuse of power, corruption, etc. So therefore, a strong accountability mechanism will act as a deterrence over the civil servants, which can help in corruption and misuse of power. So that is how you can write in a simplest way. Again, it is being said, very famous statement, that the Caesar wife should be above the suspicion. Have you heard of this line? What does it mean, Caesar's wife should be above the suspicion? From where does this line coming from? Yes, Julius Caesar divorced his wife because wife was found doing something. Now she put all the records in front of them to prove her character. But still the Caesar divorced the wife because saying that it should be well above the suspicion. Well above the suspicion. In the eyes of the public, there should not be even a tinge of suspicion. So this word is very popular. If you read the government documents, this is frequently used, that the Caesar's wife is above suspicion. Although there is a gender component into it, these days it is being said, why only the Caesar's wife? Caesar himself should also be above the suspicion. So that's, you can write that way also. Okay, that's about the accountability. Next is the fairness and justice. Simplest one, in fact, justice itself is a being a fair with all. So being a fair with all, being fair means treating or giving the person what a particular person deserves or in need of. Now here the principle of justice and governance you can relate with the good governance. You can relate with the social equity principle particularly. That is principle of positive discrimination. So you can see that fairness and justice are integral part of good governance, and civil servants are expected to follow these principles so as to bring the good governance into the system. You can say that downtrodden people, empathy and compassion is required. So when the fairness and justice would be there, there will be an welfare or inclusive growth, sustainable development. Lot many things can be written over here. Okay. Next is the courage of conviction. Courage of conviction is, courage is, that is doing something without fear. Okay, that you can write in one line, that is doing something without fear. Now courage of conviction for civil servant, you can straightforward give the example of whistleblowing. That you can see that there is a lot of wrongdoing or misconduct that happens in the governance, and it requires the courage to blow the whistle, okay, against the wrongdoing. So that is a direct example, and you can see that whistleblowing is a very potential tool for exposing the corruption and the wrongdoing in the system. So that is a one courage. Second example you can give for the courage is courage to maintain the integrity. Integrity, that is maintaining moral value in all the situation. So you can see that there is a lot of political pressure, media pressure, or there is a monetary influence in the system. So it requires a courage to, to maintain the moral values against the political pressure. So that's also the courage of conviction. Courage of conviction you can also write in a difficult area such as Naxalite areas and etc. when you are working. So you need to be more dedicated. So there is also courage of conviction. So working in difficult times, that's also require the courage. So lot many examples again can be given. Spirit of service. Spirit of service. Spirit of service. Service is service to the obviously public, and it is against the public interest. So first write in one line that spirit of service represents keeping aside the personal interest and working selflessly in the public interest. So that is the spirit of service. You can say that the spirit of service is the single most important quality which differentiates the public service from the private service, because private service is mostly guided by the profit motive, whereas the public service is guided by the service motive. So you can see that in India, where there is a lot of inequality in the society, service attitude is very important, and unless and until you have a service attitude, it's very difficult to deliver or to meet the goals of good governance. Understood? So as simple, see, you should be very particular with respect to addressing this short one-liners questions. Okay, this is an interesting question. Third question. AC चल रहा है क्या? Just switch on the AC 24. 25 पे तो रखो, थोड़ा सा suffocating लग रहा है. Yes, next question is, young people with ethical conduct are not willing to come forward to join the active politics. Suggest steps to motivate them to come forward. Can you tell me which part of the syllabus this question is coming from? This is a very generic question. Of course, you can tackle. There is no point in saying this you cannot tackle. Attitudinal change. Very good. So this question is coming from attitudinal change. In attitudinal, there is a moral and political attitude. This also subtopic is mentioned. This question says that in today's time, what is our attitude towards politics? And this question inherently trying to say that people's attitude towards politics is very negative. Okay, so they are trying to ask you how will you change the attitude of public towards the politics, public particularly the youths towards the politics. Why I'm saying that how to fix, what is the importance of locating from the syllabus is, you'll get to know that you must have prepared some common formulas. Okay, what are the things that has to be used to change the attitude? Attitudinal theories कैसे change होती है? There is a theory called as Pavlovian conditioning. Okay, you put two things, good things together, and then there is a new attitude that can be formed. There is a theory of reward and punishment. If you reward, there is a favorable attitude. If you punish, then there is a unfavorable attitude. You have theory called persuasion. Okay, so persuasion may who can be the source of persuasion, what is the message, the manner of delivery of message, the inclusion of the celebrities to give the particular message, the credible person who is providing the message. These all things are very important in changing the attitude. Understood? So if you have this thing, so you can just simply add on those particularly related with the politics as an issue and how to fit these particular issue into this framework. Understood or not? So that's the added advantage I'm saying that, so that you will not be lost with the question and it will not be too generic in nature. But otherwise, obviously, you can also address this question. So young people with ethical conduct not willing to come forward and join, take the steps to motivate. So how you are going to motivate? Can you suggest one or two measures? One or two measures can you suggest? By decreasing the role of money. So motivating a person, are you able to change? See, the thing is, when you are giving the suggestions, it should be also pragmatic and it should not be an utopian. That is, in systemic reforms we need to brought in a long term so that the people will get more attracted towards the money and the muscle. You are right in saying that because of the money, there is always a tendency that since the people don't have the money, they tend to think that it is a business of those people who have the money. Okay, but when you as an individual level going to motivate, how you are going to do that way?
Aware of their part and how they can contribute to the country.
They can contribute to the country, yes. Motivation is first thing you have to say is what the politics is going to offer to you. Okay, so you can motivate, because the question is also being said, that is, young people with ethical conduct. It means that they have certain morality. They want to change, bring the change, but they are frustrated with the kind of the politics they have. So certainly you can see that the opportunity that the politics is going to provide to change the system. Like you can use this catchphrase that to change the system, you have to be a part of system. Okay, so that's a very good catchphrase that you can say. To change the system, you have to be a part of system. There is one important quote by Plato also. Okay, he has said very nice words with regard to this. He says that the only price that the people pay by not joining the politics is to get ruled by their inferiors. Okay, the only price that the people pay, the only price that the people pay by not joining the politics, is to get ruled by their inferiors. Is to get ruled by their inferiors. It means that if you are not going to enter, you are leaving the space for the scoundrels to occupy. Okay, therefore you should come, ethically sound people should come. Okay, so these are one or two motivational things. Second thing is, see, the thing is, you have to find out why there is a disenchantment with the politics. Because it is considered as a dirty game, a game of scoundrels, money power, muscle power, criminalization of politics, corruption, nepotism. So this is what is the Pavlovian conditioning of them. The existence, Pavlovian matlab, the moment I say something, you try to attach with something else. Now you have to create new conditioning. Can you bring those politicians and give an examples who are not falling into this category? Okay, so you can give the examples that even if there is a most of the people, or you can say that many people coming from the criminal background or involved in corruption, but there are good peoples also. So give their examples and motivate them that how they are changing the situation. You can give the examples also, but the thing is, in India, giving an example from the contemporary politician is very difficult. Difficult for two reasons, because you don't know the ideology of the examiner also. Second thing is, you are expected to remain politically neutral. Even Shashi Tharoor, if you are writing, you may sound you are from the Congress. Okay, so that is the difficulty. So I would say that somebody from, yes, outside the country you can give, or yes, certainly from the history, but history is again getting divided, so that's also, there is a problem. So Gandhi and Patel and Nehru and this and that. So to remain politically neutral, you can give some other examples. Okay, say for example, Abraham Lincoln you can give as a person who can change the system by remaining in politics. Nelson Mandela you can give, who has fought. Mahatma Gandhi, agar kuch nahi hai, to he will come to rescue. Okay, so these kind of examples. So that's the second thing. That is giving in good examples in order to change their mindset that what you are understanding is just one part of or one side of the coin. There is a second side of the coin. So attaching with the good contemporary examples. Third thing you can write is distributing some autobiography of the great leaders. That great leaders, how they fought against odds in order to bring the change. Again, my experiment with truth hai, ya phir whatever the any kind of book you know, or maybe the personality and their book. The whole intention is to change their attitude and mindset, that even against the odd, people are entering into the politics and they are bringing the change. Okay, that is through distribution of the books and autobiographies and etc. etc. Fourth thing is through the use of the media also, like say for example movies, good movies which has inspired and has helped in changing the situation. Then incorporating the celebrities. Here the celebrity is not about the Bollywood celebrities obviously, those people who have brought the change. Okay? Like Mr. Obama is coming on the 1st of December in India. Likewise, if you can say that I can bring like-minded peoples who have, or for that matter, I'll bring the people on the common platform, okay, who are the role models in the politics. And therefore, I will ask them to address this youth. Then you can also say that in the schools and colleges, you will go and tie up with the things and this youth parliament sort of things, so as to bring the interest into the politics. Like at the school level, university level, people will have this youth parliament. They'll debate and discuss. So there is through these methods, you will try to motivate and you will try to tell them that you can enter into the politics and bring the sea change. Understood? See, the thing is, whenever you are writing the case of attitudinal change, you should remember it should consist of some logic, why you should enter. Second, it should also have certain emotional touch. Okay, logos and ethos and pathos. ये जो तीन word बताए थे Aristotle ने, these three components should be used in persuasion. One is logical explanation, what is the advantage of it, and you should also simultaneously tell that if you will not be, what is the disadvantage of it. Second is the emotional appeal, and third is the ethical appeal. Ethical appeal, what is the moral necessity of you entering into the politics? Like you can attach with the corruption and inequalities and the change in the system. Apart from these three things, you should also tell what are the different examples, celebrities, use of the media, use of the social media. Even if you can go and write that I will bring some one Twitter handle, dedicated Twitter handle or Facebook like page, and I will try to share all the good things that happens with respect to the politics, and I will ask them to join these pages. Okay, so that's also keep on motivating them. All of your understanding, you have to bring in some innovation. Apart from this, if you know anything, obviously you can add to it. Is it fine? Okay, so that's about the how to inspire the young with respect to the politics. Yes, please.
Can we write like making political system more transparent so that they can choose as a career option? Or
Yes, certainly. What he has said, you can write in the conclusion.
formalization of politics?
In the conclusion, you may write that apart from this system, I will also, at my level, work to bring the systematic and structural change in the long run, such as bringing more transparency, accountability, this reduction of muscle power, money power, so that the overall face of the structural political system would be changed, so that more and more people will find it more attractive, so as to take it as a career option also. So you can conclude it with that also. Okay? Yes, let's move on to the next part. One of the tests of integrity is to refuse to be compromised. Explain this with reference to the real life example. Yes, now first of all you must know what is the integrity and you should define it, and then you have to narrate one incident. Now there was a lot of confusion with respect to this real life example. So should be the real life example from our own example, or real life example is from somebody else's example. So the answer is you can give either of the two. But here what is a real life example mean? They are saying that administrative examples, formal example, hypothetical example is not that is expected. Here something which has happened to you or with somebody else, and you try to convince them with a very simple day-to-day life example that this is what is the integrity. In fact, the whole question was not trying to see which example you are giving. They are trying to see whether you have understood properly the value of integrity or not. Okay, so I hope everybody knows what is integrity. Integrity is something more than honesty. Obviously truthfulness is there, but it is more than truthfulness. It is following the values of morality and honesty in all the situation. Okay, no matter whatever the situation is. And particularly the test of integrity is in difficult times. Difficult times, either you are threatened by someone to do something, or you are bribed by someone to do something. Okay, that is intimidation, intimidating you to change your stand, or influencing you through the bribes or material resources to change the stand. And you have to show that in such difficult times also you have able to uphold the your particular value. So your example should be in the three parts to give a very clear-cut picture of what is integrity. The first part is what value you uphold. Okay, and you have to say that this is something a person or you yourself is attached to integrity. Then in the second part you have to say that there was an incidence or a situation where there was an external influence, either in the form of threat or in the form of influence, which is trying to change your value. But then you have to say that in spite of this, I restored my value, and this is how I uphold the integrity. Or you have to show. So somewhere you have to show that challenge. Integrity is not you simply follow it and there is no challenge. So this example is expecting out of you that no matter whatever the circumstances are, you are upholding your moral value. Can you give some examples from the great leaders again? See, Gandhi's examples with respect to this non-cooperative movement is a very famous one. Like, he has a non-violence as a one value he wants to adhere to. But then in case of Chauri Chaura, what has happened? Okay, so after the Chauri Chaura, he withdrew the movement, and the reason which was given was non-violent principle is not adhered to. So this is, you can see that a person following a particular value even in the difficult situation, no matter whatever its consequences are. Now, there was a lot of criticism on the Gandhi with respect to withdrawing of the movement, because some people say that India was about to get independent, or it could have, the course of the history would have been different. But for the Gandhi's point of view, integrity with respect to the non-violence was very important thing. So he stuck to the value, and to an extent that he called the nationwide movement, okay, in a single stroke. So this is how he has maintained the integrity. Any other examples that you can think of? Integrity.
At the time of independence, when Nehru decided to go for non-aligned movement,
Oh.
not with the capitalist or the socialist.
Okay.
Risking in isolation at that time.
Okay.
Because when you're surrounded by some hostile neighbors, but going by for a bit.
Okay, following the particular thing. Yes, certainly. Can you give some example from your personal life, day-to-day example also? Can you give day-to-day example also? I'll tell you one example so you can relate, because here the word is real-time example, but in 2014 they have very strictly mentioned that give an example from your life also. So you should rather prepare such examples also. So let's say, for example, I'm giving my example in a sense that third party's person, मतलब एक general example बोल रहा हूँ. A person A is heading the ragging squad, okay, of an college, and he upholds that anybody who is involved in the ragging, that because he was heading the ragging squad, he will put their names in front of the dean of the college. Now what has happened, after 6 months, one person has complained to Mr. A with regard to the ragging. When he read the name happens to be the most closest friend of Mr. A. Now he was in the dilemma that what should be done and what should not be done. But because he upholds the principle of integrity, he decided to give the name. The B person whose name is appearing, now he is trying to influence the A, saying that हमारी दोस्ती बहुत दिनों की है, okay, and you should rather not add my name to the list. So this is trying to influence. Then you are not impressed with it and you are saying that no, I have to give the name. Then he is trying to threaten to end the relationship also. The relationship in a sense that friendship, obviously. So relationship will end. So he is now threatening also. Okay. You are unrelenting. ऐसा लिखना है थोड़ा. I was stint और मतलब थोड़ा सा और force दिखाओ बोलो कि आप बहुत सख्त हो. Okay. Still I was unrelenting. फिर वो बोल रहा है कि he was trying to make you understand that you are suffering from typhoid and how he has helped, okay, leaving his exam and he has helped you. थोड़ा सा emotional. Now he is trying to emotionally blackmail you also. Still, I have given the name to the principles because for me the integrity was important. तो थोड़े से ऐसे example देने से और थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा impress हो जाता है. तो ऐसे भी example आप दे सकते हो. That is following the values of integrity. Next is the corporate social responsibility makes the companies more profitable and sustainable. Analyze. Okay. Now this question is coming from corporate governance. Okay. CSR, again this was asked earlier also. So the question is very clear with respect to CSR is more profitable and sustainable for the companies. Generally CSR is understood in terms of how it benefits the society. Now this question is playing the other way around. They are saying that CSR is not only for the society, they are not even stating that. They are saying that CSR should be promoted not for the sake of society but for the companies themselves. How the company is going to benefit in the long run. It is in fact being said that CSR would be a win-win situation for both society as well as the company if they follow the spirit. So how do you start this answer? By writing a CSR in one line. What do you understand by CSR? That is the company should follow certain ethical principles while in their governance or in their functioning. In fact, it is being said that 3 P's should be followed. that is the principles in CSR is, first is the people, or first is the profit, that is the economic part, second is people, and third is the planet. People is the society, that is society's welfare and the employees' welfare. Planet is obviously the ecological part, and profit is also the economic part. So this three P's should be adhered to. Okay, this is called as the triple bottom line. Triple bottom line of CSR. Triple bottom line of CSR, the three P's. So generally we have seen that the companies adhere to the profit, obviously, but they do not adhere to this two parts. So you can say that a company should adhere to these principles also, that is the benefit of the society, and they should also mind how it is affecting the environment also. So this you write in the CSR in the one line. You can incorporate this triple bottom line principle. Then you write that how it is going to make the company more profitable and sustainable. Profitable, very simple, because if you follow the good principles, taking all the stakeholders' interest into consideration, it is going to increase the brand value of the company in the long run. So this is the first statement you can see that is the CSR, that is corporate social responsibility, helps in that is upholding the interest of all the stakeholders. You may write the stakeholder right from the people working in an organization, that are employees, second is the consumer, and third is the society at large. So if their interests are also incorporated, so the brand value of the company will increase in the long run. You can also write in this only that employees who are working will be more loyal to you, and they will work with a more enthusiasm, because the kind of the activities that you are going to do for the welfare of the employees. It is also being said that happy employee is the biggest asset for the company. So the more the happier the employee, more loyal he would be, and more will be the profitability. Second, you can write the consumers are the gods in contemporary times. So the consumer interests are again taken into account. So the subscriber base will increase. The goodwill that is generated in the public is going to benefit the company in the long run. Sustainability is not just about sustainability from ecological point of view, but company's interest in the long run. Okay, sustainable over a period of time, not just about ecology. So you can write the ecological component also, that if you take care of the environment, so obviously the good environment and their capacity is important in the long run. Like if the atmosphere is not polluted and everything is well, so obviously there is no problem in the long run. But second, you can write social component in the sustainability. There will be a less protest by your employees. Okay, so if you are doing and keeping them happy, there will be a less protest by the employees within the organization, that is trade union and etc. So conflict will be less, the sustainability will be higher. Consumer, if you are not cheating the consumer, not that's fraud and cheat and anything of that sort, there will be a less filing of litigation also. So that's also help in the long run. So this is how you have to address these two words, that is how it is profitable and how it is sustainable in the long run. I hope points are clear. Okay, the next one. Yes. Yes.
All these things taking care of employees and
No. So you have very narrowly interpreted the CSR. Okay. CSR जो Companies Act 2013 जो बोलता है, that is 2% of your share should go to the this social activities or ecological activities. That is externally forced CSR upon the companies, because companies are not at all observing the ethical principles. Okay. Overall, we expect that even without the law, companies should adhere to the ethical principles. All of you are understanding? He has raised very important question, that is, in today's time we are relating CSR only with respect to 2% of the money that is to be spent. That is it. That is a forced one. Okay, because the companies are not following the ethical standard. CSR is a good one of the component of the good corporate governance. Here also there is a question of spending. Spending in a sense that 2% should go to the employees' benefits and etc. and for the people's benefit also. All of you have understood? Okay. Next question is, the great ambition is a passion of a great character. Those who endowed with it, it may perform very good or bad acts. All depends upon the principle which directs them. So that's true that ambition, great ambition is a passion of a great character. So passion and the ambition is common to all, but in which direction one is using the passion and the ambition, that matters a lot. Some might use it in a positive direction, okay, to change the face of the society and the nation, or some might use in a very negative direction in order to further their self-interest. So the passion is going to remain the same, but the direction is going to different depending upon what sort of principles that you uphold. So the question is stating that you have to give two such divergent example where some of the rulers who have harmed the country and the society, and second is who have worked for the development of the society and the country. So the first example obviously is Hitler, okay, that is where you can see that who has harmed the society. You can see that he was guided by the greed and passion, okay, that is he was hungry of the power, etc. So you can see that that was also a passion. Okay, what point you have to show is he was also passionate about something, passionate to make the Germany strong again, okay, based upon the German superior race. Is talking about the Lebensraum. So he was absolutely passionate to make the Germany strong, or in fact to take the revenge of the First World War, that is this Versailles Treaty. So that revenge, so his passion was channelized towards the taking the revenge, and that is how he was driving his passion. Then you give the what are the implications that has happened. So some of the implication you can see that first is about the Nazi Germany committing the atrocities against the Jews. The whole communal Holocaust, okay, where the 6 million plus Jews were burned into the concentration camp. So he has gone to an extent in order to like bring his German sense of nationalism. Second, you can see that he was gone for the territorial expansion, because this Lebensraum says that territorial expansion, space for the German race. Okay, so in this case he was waging the war and gone for the territorial expansion, which in fact culminated into the Second World War also. So you can give that how he has harmed the society at large, not only the Germany but also the Europe at large. You can write others also. Within the German there was no freedom of speech and expression. So his passion was there, he derived it in the wrong way, and that is how he has caused the harm to the society. Second example, if you are giving this way, you can give one communist example also, that is Stalin. Stalin can be a good example. So Stalin, you can say that in the after the Lenin, what he has done is obviously he was derived by the passion to bring the so-called communism, but the thing is, under the disguise of communism, he perpetuated his power hunger. Okay, even he has killed the Trotsky. It is being said, matlab killed, suspicion hai wo. But the point is, you can see that he has brought in the totalitarian regime or authoritarian regime to bring his passion into the practice. In India, you can give the example of Aurangzeb, okay, Mughal Empire Aurangzeb. So again, he was passionate about restoring the Mughal Empire. So he has made, yes, you can mention. Yes, certainly. I'll come to that point. A same person can be mentioned in both the areas. Second thing is, second part we are coming, that who work for the development of the society and the country. Yes. Mother Teresa, see, the thing is, rulers diya hai yahan pe. ठीक है. Ashoka you can give. Ashoka in the second part, what you are saying, that Ashoka following the Dhamma. Okay, Dhamma, peace, non-violence, etc., those principles he has promoted. You can give the example of Akbar also. Like here we have given the Aurangzeb, here you can give the Akbar also. So another Mughal empire which was passionate. So he was bringing this Din-e-Ilahi, a secular religion, which was a composer of all. So you can see that Akbar and Ashoka, the two great leaders who with their different passion has brought a change, positive change into the society. You can give again here the Woodrow Wilson aa sakta hai, Abraham Lincoln specifically in context of slavery. Okay, in fact he has kept his presidentship at stake, US presidentship, because he was passionate about ending the slavery. He said that he do not believe in the inequality based upon the race. So he was absolutely against the racial discrimination and the slavery, and he has went on to extend to incorporate his passion. To an extent, he put his US presidency at stake. So this is how he has brought in change. So some of the things you have to brought in change. See, the thing is 10 marker है, 5 मार्क है, ठीक है, आप लिख भी सकते हो वैसे, that is yes, वही है, इसका simplified explanation है, that you can show that passion is the common denominator to all, but it is the attitude and the principles that you hold that going to change the direction of the passion. Okay, that one line will be a very good introduction, that passion would be common, somebody guided by good ethical principle and the bad principle, there they have the different direction. In fact, it's interesting, because it is written that this is a statement of the Napoleon Bonaparte, and he can be fitted into both of the examples. Okay, who has harmed the society in the later part, if you know, although the Napoleon Bonaparte, until and unless you study the history, you will never point the fingers at him. But if you have seen French Revolution, obviously he has, in the first phase of his life, liberty, equality, fraternity, he has spread these values within the French also and across the Europe also. But in the later part, he becomes so passionate that it literally he become a dictator. Okay, that is where we see that he has harmed the society also. If you know the world history properly, then only write, otherwise do not venture into these territories. Okay, yes, I hope points are clear. Please.
In such questions, if we give unconventional examples, will that fetch more marks to us?
Tell me what is the unconventional example.
For example, if negativity, like right about Mao's with Zedong and his cultural revolution and Great Leap Forward and all that thing, so it shows more knowledge. So if we write such things...
Yes, Mao Zedong cultural revolution है, लेकिन वो बहुत controversial revolution है. If you see the cultural revolution and the Great Leap Forward, there is a theory in ethics, deontological theory and teleological ethics, consequential ethics. If you apply the consequential ethics for the Mao, you will see that yes, he has made the China very strong. But if you see the means that have been followed in cultural revolution and Great Leap Forward, they were not really good. It was a color of Stalin and obviously the violent methods that he has followed. जैसे उनका 100 flowers campaign थे, etc., etc. So he has went on to an extent. There is a purge. The word used is a purge, purging the opponents. So he used to invite the criticism, saying that we need more ideas. Let the 100 or 1,000 flower blossom, and when the 100 flowers will blossom, he will go and kill them. That is called as purging of opponents. So cultural revolution में भी आप देखोगे तो the means that have been applied were not that strong. Okay, Karl Marx, Mao is something where proponent of the violent revolution. तो उसमें आपको इस पेपर में ध्यान रखना है कि end may be justified but the means are not.
Everybody would write about Hitler and Akbar.
So find somebody. I'm not saying that you cannot find. I'm saying that somebody, yes, who has changed the face in a right way. Change the face in a right way. I'm not saying that you should follow only these examples. Understood? Okay. Yes, let's move on to the next. That is, how will you apply the... No, I think we have missed one question. If the country is to be a corruption-free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are 3 key societal members who can make the difference, that they are the father, mother and the teacher. Analyze. Now, the question, which part of the syllabus the question is coming from? Role of family, yes. Role of family or socialization in general. So the question was related with the socialization, importance of socialization in inculcating the values in an individual. Here specifically, उन्होंने पूछा है कि particularly of your parents, and second is of teacher. Parents again, the father and the mother, and second is the teacher one. Their role with respect to making the India corruption free and becoming the nation of beautiful minds. So you can state that the individual is a product of his value system, and his value system come from his parents and the school. So that's a good, powerful introduction, that every single person is a product of his value system, and his value system come from his parents as well as his teachers. You can see that these 2 components are all the more important because this is during the formative stage of individual. that is during the childhood stage. So whatever you are going to impose the values, so they are going to remain the permanent for the long time. Give both the pictures that if the values are parochial, narrow, okay, the person would be like parochial and this parochial in nature, where if the values are liberal, moderate, ethical, pious, the person would be like that. So give this paragraph and then write the role of the parents. You can club it also here, the role of the father and the mother as a role of the parents, and second is the role of teachers. So role of the parents and the fathers, how do you articulate? How do you see that? That what sort of value system that they are going to inculcate to make the India corruption free and beautiful nation of beautiful minds? So greed principle, you can say that greed versus need. Okay, so if they teach, the parents teach the children that one should be satisfied with what one has, versus if they are more materialistic, consumeristic, greed driven. Okay, in fact, the Simone de Beauvoir, जो French feminist scholar है, उन्होंने एक बार बोला था कि that the children do not listen to what parents say, but they follow what the parents do. Okay, so that's very important. Again, that statement can be written that they do not listen to what the parents say, but they certainly follow what the parents do. So if you are practicing very materialistic, consumeristic life, you yourself are very greedy and etc. So that is going to be followed by your children also. Corruption, you can give some sort of story also. अगर आपके पास कुछ नहीं हो रहा है कि you have gone into the market, the mother purchased some products, she got some money in return. मतलब आपने 100 का नोट दे दिया और कुछ 200 आपको वापस दे दिया. My mother has given it back and taught me that it should not be done. So that's also a very powerful way of writing the answers. Give some hypothetical examples and say that this sort of teaching is very helpful and it cultivates the good values in the long run. You can give the bad examples and tell that this sort of examples can give rise to the other way around. Then come to the role of teacher. See, the thing of here it is also mentioned that nation of beautiful minds. Okay, so what is a beautiful mind? Is a curious mind. Okay, it is conformist mind. Conformist means whatever being told, you just conform to what is being said without even questioning. A beautiful mind. So you can define that way that a teacher is a first role model for the children. So how he is going to teach and what the value he is going to inculcate going to stay for a longer time. So if he promotes the questioning of the subtle paradigm, then he is certainly incorporating the values of curiosity, values of reflective thinking, values of questioning, values of inquiry. So these sort of things which comes from the teacher, and he has a role to play. Otherwise, if on the other side, on the contrary, you can say that if he is too disciplined in the sense that we are not using it in a positive way, in a negative manner, he is not promoting any dialogue, he is not promoting deliberation, he is asking to just command and obedience relationship. He is commanding and he is asking you to obey him without questioning. So this sort of tendency might create in different sorts of individuals. So you can say that yes, the role of the parents and there are very important, and give certain examples. Okay, so that's it. Again a very straightforward question. Next question, question number 6. How will you apply the emotional intelligence in the administrative practices? Now this question is again repeating every year, that is emotional intelligence, because this is the only question they can ask from the emotional intelligence topic. That is, what do you understand by emotional intelligence and how it can be relevant for the civil servants. So you can give this emotional intelligence definition also. You can start with the definition because although it has not been asked, but the definition itself gives you many points to write its relevance also. So 4 parts of you can mention also this Daniel Goleman's definition, or a simplest way is, that is, ability of keeping the self-aware. Yes, what are the 4 components? Self-awareness. Second is the self-control. Third is the social awareness. And fourth one is the social skills, or maintaining the strong interpersonal relationship. Maintaining strong interpersonal relationship. Maintaining the strong interpersonal relationship. So these are the 4 points, that is I and others. So the definition goes like this, that ability to understand one's emotions and control one's emotions, individual, he himself, ability to understand one's emotions and ability to control the emotions, ability to understand the emotions of the others, and then managing the interpersonal relationship. So you need to understand your emotions also, control them, you need to understand the emotions of others, and then manage the interpersonal relationship. So this is the definition that's coming from the Daniel Goleman's this 4 parts of definition is from the Daniel Goleman's definition of emotional intelligence. So simply you can mention it one line also. Now second part, that is how will you apply emotional intelligence in administrative practices. Now you can introduce in saying that the administration and the civil servant himself work in a very complex environment where there is a lot of stress, where there is a lot of pressure, where there is you have the deadlines, you have the crisis situation. So in all the situation he requires to manage and understand his emotion at his individual level also, and with respect to others, and manage the interpersonal relationship. So this is one short paragraph you can write in 2-3 lines, that the administration and the governance itself is a very complex process, and he works in a very difficult circumstances. In order to face the difficult circumstances, he requires to have a strong emotional intelligence. Now write point wise that what are these situations, what do you mean by the complex situation, and how he is going to manage the things. So yes, tell me, what are the situations? Political interference, yes. What else? See, I'm drawing one graphic, so that will give you the answer. So if you are a civil servant, so what sort of pressures that come? First is the political interference. Political interference. Okay. Then you have the public pressure. Public pressure to act. Public pressure to act. Then you have the media pressure. These days you can write the social media also. Okay, media pressure to act. Then you have the issue of work-family conflict. Work-family conflict. Okay. Then there is an issue with respect to different crisis situations. Crisis situations. Different crisis situations, right, from mob violence, lynching and all this situation. Second is disaster management, etc. So if you remember those graphics, you can write lot many points. Within this also you can write your relationship with the seniors, your relationship with your colleagues, your relationship with your subordinates. So civil servant's life is sandwiched between lot many complex situations. You can take one by one and write 1 or 2 lines how the emotional intelligence. You can say that to maintain the integrity in the times of political interference. You can say that political interference both the ways, in the form of threat or in the form of bribe also. Okay. You can write here also there is an unholy corporate politico nexus. There is a crony capitalism which is growing. So therefore there is a lot of pressure with respect to maintaining the integrity in the office. In such situation there is a lot of stress, and emotional intelligence can come handy. Second, you can write public pressure. Public pressure में आप लिख सकते हो. Now the philosophies of good governance. The people are becoming more and more aware of their rights. So therefore they are putting more pressure on the this administration. This is not wrong. We are not criticizing it. We are just trying to tell that because of their awareness, there is a more pressure on the administration to deliver. At the same time, you can say that there is a scarcity of resources. So there is a demand is more, and there is a scarcity of resources. to deliver. So in this particular situation, he again feel the stress to meet particular demand. So he has to handle the pressure. Media pressure, you can see that in contemporary time, because of the social media and intrusion, so there is again a pressure on him. Work family conflicts, you can see that. In fact, that is a very important area which has been neglected. Although we tend to say that because his role in administration only should be related with that part. That's not the case. Most of the stress is because he is not able to balance his role between the family and the workplace. There is so much of burden, so he is giving vent to his feeling it at the family part. Or many times it is happening because he is overburdened, is not able to look after the family and the conflict is arising. In many cases that we have come across many cases of suicides also. So you can mention one or two that we have witnessed IS officer, IPS officer committing the suicide because of the work pressure and not able to handle the emotional upheaval. Then crisis situation, in fact you can elaborate one or two line on it. In mob situation, obviously you need to tackle the situation not through your knee-jerk reaction, okay, but to analyze the situation calmly and to act in a more responsive manner. Because most of the times we see that mob violence or the communal conflict happen for one reason, but mishandling of the communal conflict exacerbate the crisis. So that's also you can write because he is held answerable. So there are lot many things that you have to create the situation, what are the complexities in the crisis and how emotional intelligence come handy. Here also you can write his relationship with employee is very important to maintain the congenial atmosphere or a congenial work environment. So for the congenial work environment, he should understand the employee's problems and accordingly resolve it. Understood? Okay. Yes, certainly. Contemporary examples लिख सकते हो ना आप, सब में example डाल सकते हो. Yes. See, the thing is you have to also remember words. That's also the challenging thing. Yes, examples. Example has to be put in paper 4. Contemporary examples. Yes, next is the strength, peace and the security as considered as the pillars of international relation, elucidate. Okay, strength, peace and the security are considered as the pillars of international relation. Elucidate. What this question is trying to understand, which part, what sort of thing? Because this question is only saying that elucidate and the statement is very plain. Strength, peace and security are the considered as the pillars of the relationship. Yes. In context of India's foreign policy. Okay. How are you going to enter into the question, what you are going to write?
Significance of international peace and
Yes, obviously this is an ethics paper, so what they expect is the more peace and stability in the international relations. So somewhere you have to talk something with regard to the what are the factors or what are the things because of which the peace and the security is getting challenged. On the other side, you have to speak about what are the things and the principles that can be followed to restore the international peace and the security. So you can straightforward say that international politics is a situation of anarchy and there is no central government. So in this situation, the power equation defines the peace and security of the international relations. So you can say that in contemporary time, that rise of the non-state actors, especially, and you can mention some names like Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, etc. They are disturbing the peace and security. You can give the historic perspective also, that history of humanity so far is history of wars and disasters. Okay, that is, it is a history of a bloodshed. First World War and Second World War, and only after the Second World War we see the emergence of United Nations. So what you are trying to say is, you are trying to create a situation that what are the nature of conflict. Nature of conflict in the past was through the sovereign actors, that is between the two nation state, through the war. In the second state, you are trying to say that maybe we have able to overcome the sovereign actors war, but now there is a new emergence of the this non-state actors in the form of. In this context, then you have to see that in this context we have to see all other security threats also you can mention. Like one you have mentioned already, you can mention the interventions also. You can mention the nuclear power, that is weapons of mass destruction as a threat to peace and etc. And then you have to write a paragraph. So first paragraph you have to write what are the conflicting situation in the past and the present. The next paragraph you can write that how we can bring the more peace and security, how, one, and what is the significance of maintaining the peace and security. Some of the quotation you can write, say for example, great powers come up with the great responsibility. So you can say that the great powers legitimacy will be only there so long as they are responsible actors, and if they tend to be irresponsible, that threaten the peace and security. Then it is also being said that no war is a good war and no peace is a bad peace. Okay, this is said by one of the American president during he was accepting the Nobel Peace Prize. So he said that no war, for whatever reason it is being fought, is a good war, and no peace is a bad peace. So that principle has to be followed. You can also bring the concept of Vasudhaiya Kutumbakam. Okay, that is universal brotherhood. Whole world is our family, and there is a principle of brotherhood. You can also bring this concept of clash of civilization. That is in between the Christianity and Islam. That is where the Samuel P. Huntington call it as a clash of civilization of the community. Now, the clash of civilization, it means there is a lack of value of tolerance towards each other's religion and the culture. So in this context, you can say that Indian cultural values, okay, that is articulated by Swami Vivekananda and Rabindranath Tagore of universal brotherhood. In fact, there is a reference to the Swami Vivekananda's speech at the Chicago, where he has spoken about the religious and the cultural tolerance. See, the thing is here you have to bring in more ethical component into the international relations. It's not very abstract question where you write United Nations, World Bank and IMF and etc. to maintain United Nations Security Council reform, फिर क्यों होना चाहिए etc. Those things are not expected obviously. So more the philosophical point you can add in the context of necessity of it. Okay, so first you write the crisis and then you say that what are the principles that can be brought in. You can brought in also the inclusive component also. You can say that ethnic conflicts etc. including the Syria are happening because of non-inclusive approach, that one of the tribal community or ethnic community are forming the government without consideration. You can also this way you can write that different conflicts and the situation and how to bring the international peace and security. Understood? So next question. Elucidate, yes, you have to cite some, see the thing is और एक component, जैसे example है तो आप दे सकते हो कि great powers come up with great responsibility, so you can say that how the great powers are behaving. Give an example of China in the South China Sea. So you are a great power, but rather than being irresponsible, you are trying to create your hegemony in the South China Sea. So this example, okay, yes. Second, you can give European community as a whole, great power hai, but you are not taking the responsibility of the refugee crisis. So you can say that what is required is a humanitarian value into the international relation, so as to treat the refugees from the humanitarian perspective rather than from the narrow perspective. You can give the example of Rohingyas also. So this is how you can articulate. It should be based upon the more principles, okay, rather than just an abstract IR thing. Next question, that is question number 7. The crisis of ethical values in the modern times is traced to the narrow perception of the good life. Discuss. Okay. The crisis of ethical values in modern times is related to the narrow perception of good life. In fact, they are trying to link two things together. That is, first is, that is what is the notion of good life. If that notion is narrow, so obviously that is going to create the problem. If the notion of what is good life, if you define it narrowly, it is going to bring the crisis. And if you define the notion in a broad manner, so it is going to bring the more prosperity and the stability in the society. So the question is trying to say that how you define your notion of good life, that is going to define the future. And they are saying that the today's crisis is because of our narrow interpretation of the good life. So that crux has to be understood. In fact, they have asked a very similar question, but in a very different form. What do you understand by happiness? And what the happiness means to you? In fact, it is the same question. Okay, all of you are understanding? When you are saying that, what do you mean by happiness? So here, अगर आप देखोगे तो यहाँ पे you can start it. The notion of good life for an individual and the society and the people is going to decide what nature of the society it would be. If it is a narrow, then there is a crisis. If it is a broad, then there is a prosperity. Then say that what sort of narrowness is creating the crisis. So good life, you can say that the life goodness is being interpreted from the materialistic point of view. Okay, so you can write in this way also. That is where we see मटेरियलिस्टिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से है और दूसरे पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से नहीं है. जैसे मॉरल नहीं है, स्पिरिचुअल नहीं है, सोशल नहीं है. ओके, देयर इज नो इनकॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ द एनवायरमेंटल वैल्यूज एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. सो materialistic notion, the good life is attached with the materialistic notion rather than the holistic what is a good, holistic notion of the what is a good life. You can give an example here, थोड़ा सा theoretical भी बना सकते हो इसको. That is, this notion is more utilitarian in nature, that is more materialistic oriented. In fact, you can see here the Bentham's notion of materialistic life, which has a happiness which depends only on the pain and pleasure, okay, and not based upon the spiritual happiness or value based happiness. You can write the Bentham also. You can write any other philosophy in India which focuses on only materialistic values. Charvak philosophy, yes. So you can write the Charvak philosophy and materialistic philosophy of Bentham. If your notion is based upon this, obviously it is going to bring the problems in the society. Then second, this we have said in terms of materialism versus other aspects of the life. You can see that what it has created. It has created the growth, but the growth is not equitable. And since the growth is not equitable, the downtrodden section of the society are trying to challenge the contemporary economic political system, and that is what is leading into the chaos. Because it is creating the unjust system. It is benefiting the few, upper rich class, and it is dividing between the rich and the poor, and therefore the crisis has been brought in. Second crisis, you can write that materialistic growth is hampering the environment also, and therefore there is environmental degradation, and therefore crisis is happening. So if you had the broader notion to include the society and environment, we would not have got this crisis. Second thing, you can relate with respect to the self versus, that is self or the egoistic egoism versus universalism, or with respect to the including the others. In fact, it is being said that good of the life is in the good of the society. Good of individual lies in the good of society. This is broader one against this. Okay, one is the absolutely individualistic, self-centric, egoistic notion of happiness, versus if you have this notion that my good lies with the good of all, that is good of individual lies in the good of society. If society will progress, I'll progress. If society will fall, I will fall. You can relate with the sanitation also. If you keep your house clean, and if you that throw your litter outside the house only by keeping your house, it is going to affect you in the long run. That is going to create the crisis. So your notion should be broad enough so that only if the society grow, then only you can grow. So if this notion will be taught to you, so there will not be a crisis in the future. You can relate this egoism at national and international level also. The extreme form of egoism, that is a self-centric nationalism, is again creating the problems. You can say that the First World War and the Second World War are the manifestation of extreme nationalism. Versus you can say that if there is a value of cosmopolitanism, universalism. In fact, you can say that refugee crisis and the problems arising out of is because of the extreme sense of self and the nationalism, and looking from, that is, there is a differentiation between the us from them. Okay, so these are the sort of the thing that you can say that is creating the problem, because your notion is too narrow. Understood? In fact, a very interesting thing is Buddha was when asked that I want to be happy. Okay, so Buddha has said, remove the I and remove the want, you will be happy. Because your notion is very strong. Because you are thinking about I only. That's why you are not happy, and you are about the want and the desires, your happiness. So if you remove them, so you'll be, ऐसे भी लिखा जा सकता है उसको. So I hope points are clear. Okay, let's move on to the next part. कौन सा question था? What's the question number? 7th. Okay. Question number 8 or 7B? 7B. Okay. Increase in the national wealth did not result in the equitable distribution of the benefits. It has created only some enclaves of modernity and prosperity for some minority at the cost of majority. Okay, so this is again a very straightforward question, that inequalities existed in the society because of the, you can say that, unequitable distribution of the income. See here, this is the question where if you can bring certain facts and figures, okay, that's good. Like there is an Oxfam report. Okay, the Oxfam report says that is this 57 individuals, not 57%, 57 individuals are holding, yes, the property is equal to bottom 70%. Okay, 57 individuals in India are holding property equal to bottom 70%. Then it is also said that is where the 1% of the individual are having 60%. 58%, that is approximately 60%, and 10% of the individuals are holding up to 80%. So this is an Oxfam report. You can say that there are the enclaves, or क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे, enclaves of modernity and the prosperity for the small minorities. This is an Oxfam report, so you can say that there is a glaring inequality in the society. There is one scholar which is very famous in the contemporary, Thomas Piketty करके. He has given a lot of good observation in the similar way. Thomas Piketty, if you want to know, is being touted as the new Karl Marx. Thomas Piketty. Thomas Piketty also has made the same observation. Okay, that is, there is a glaring inequality, particularly the post-globalization. So in this context, what has been questioned, that increased national wealth did not result in equitable, but it has only created the inequality. So the first paragraph you try to tell that globalization, capitalist notion, or LPG model, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization, certainly benefited the country in the form of increase in its GDP. But that GDP has not been redistributed, and therefore it has created the enclaves of modernity against the prosperity. You can give this line also. In India, Antilla and the Dharavi slum exist together. I hope if you remember what is an Antilla and what is Dharavi slum. So in the same area, okay, you climb the Antilla also, that is the skyscrapers, but ironically, in the same vicinity we have the Dharavi slum also. So this form of glaring inequality is there. Now in the second paragraph, obviously you have to address how you can curb this inequality. So you write this principle of fairness and social justice, principle of redistribution of income in the form of progressive taxation, reduction of corruption, and bring all the principles that are there in the good governance, transparency, accountability, redistribution of income, welfare, etc., in order to, you can even relate this to the Naxalism also, that if the problem is remain unaddressed, it will be not only a developmental challenge, but it becomes a security challenge also, that is quite manifested in the form of Naxalism, etc. You can write this debate of this backward region versus the forward region. Not only islands of prosperity in terms of the section of the society, but also with respect to the geographical islands also. That is, some are the islands of prosperity, whereas the others are the backward regions. So write that debate also and create some sort of fear that it is going to be very difficult if the such situation continued. Yes? Yes, global examples also can be given. Just say, yes, certainly you can write. Yes. certainly. You can write sustainable development goal, जैसे African countries versus the global also. The question is only 10 marks, okay, and 150. So yes, if you can incorporate, it's good. But more and more, if you write about the India, then that will be the direct answer. Amartya Sen, you should write in conclusion. जो second paragraph बोला था, तो उसमें आप, yes, certainly you can write the affirmative action of the Amartya Sen. Okay, that is a capacity building. Okay, justice as a capacity building, and he has related the capacity building as a real freedom. So the real freedom will come only when there is a capacity building, and state should intervene into the capacity building. So obviously you can write that in conclusion. Yes, the next question, that is 8. Discipline generally implies following the order and the subordination. However, it may be counterproductive for the organization. Discuss. Yes, how do you go about this thing?
Explain the importance of discipline in an organization.
Oh yes, very good.
Then we have to tell the situation where discipline can be counterproductive. Like
Yes.
in every order, like we are following our superior order, but not for his personal interest. That has to be the personal interest.
Okay, so let's keep it simple that way only, that discipline generally implies following order and subordination. However, it may be counterproductive. So obviously the question is on the second part. Okay, the focus of the question is on the second part, that is too much of discipline thing can be counterproductive for organization. But let's write 3-4 lines on the how discipline is important in maintaining the organizational goal. So first you can write that yes, discipline in the form of code of conduct and code of ethics of organization will help in maintaining the ethical behavior within the organization, or it also help in maintaining the efficiency of organization, because your task is divided and your task needs to be completed in time. That will bring the efficiency and productivity for organization. On the behavioral side, you can say that following the code of conduct and code of ethics will help in maintaining the ethical behavior. So tell them that it is important for the productivity and efficiency also, and secondly, it is important for maintaining the ethical behavior also. Now come to the second part, you can see that too much of discipline curbs certain qualities which may be counterproductive to the organization. What are those qualities? Obviously creativity and innovation. Okay, innovation, creativity, research and development will not come if you are not providing the free space. Okay, so the free space will only give an opportunity for a person to think beyond the settled paradigms. So if every employee has to conform with the present standards, there is no innovation possible. So creativity, innovation, research and development, new thinking, okay, planning and adoption to the new ideas, new technologies, these things will not come, and the organization, for organization it may be a counterproductive because it will inject the status quoism in the organization. Status quoism, that is a immunity to the change. So you are not changing, you are just carrying out those orthodox and conservative ideas, or you are not innovating with respect to the changing time. So write that what is the utility of it. You can give the examples also, like say for example Apple company, okay, which, or for that matter Google also. So you can give certain examples in the foreign countries. These are all 4 or 5 examples where they promote more innovation, and therefore we see the in fact the Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook itself. So give this example, they promote a lot of free space for the employees to work, and therefore we see that there is a lot of productivity within organization. Whereas on the contrary, you can give an examples, Indian or third world countries में जितने companies है, they are more about following your timetable, culture and strictness and discipline and etc. So they are more of a outsourcing players, okay, rather than creating something new, okay, so that others can buy from it. There is one J.S. Mill statement also, although it is related with the political organization, but you can write that a state which dwarf its mean, a state which dwarf its mean, in order that a state which dwarf its mean, in order that there may be more docile instruments, there may be more docile instruments in its hands. The state which dwarf its mean, in order that there may be more docile instrument in its hands, will find that will find that with small men, no great things can be really accomplished. Will find that with small men, no great thing can be really accomplished. No great thing can be really accomplished. Okay, let me summarize this statement. That is a state which dwarf its man. Dwarf means keep the mean small. Okay, so those states which keep the mean small, these state cannot be the great state. So the same philosophy, that is, if the organization keep its main dwarf and they do not allow the space to innovate, so they cannot accomplish the greater goals. The point is, you have to give the space to the people. So that's how you have to bring in. You can bring the administration also. यहाँ पे ऐसे नहीं है कि private organization. You can bring wherever the IS officer, IPS officer have given the space and give certain examples that how they have brought the new innovation in the implementation level. Like say for example, lot many people in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has brought the new technologies and the techniques innovative for the behavioral change. So they have brought a lot of good work. In case of Naxal affected areas, like say for example OP Chaudhary and these people, okay, they have given the free space to the employees working under them so that they can also bring an helping hands into bringing the new innovation also. Understood? So that's the point with respect to the question related to organization and discipline. The next is question number 8B. Na? Without commonly shared and widely entrenched moral values and the obligation, neither law nor democratic government nor even the market economy can function properly. Okay, so the thing is here they have mentioned about three things. One is about the law, second is about the democratic government, and third is market economy. They are saying that if there is a deficiency of moral values in three of them, they are not going to function well. So you have to pick up 1, 2 and 3, law, and then show that lack of moral values in the law is going to create a problem. Then democratic government, lack of values, how it create the problem, and market economy without values, how it create the problem. Okay, so that's the framework of your answer. So you can say that the first law, within the law you can make two divisions. Okay, one is the issue with respect to formulation of law, and second is implementation. So formulation of law may we use this principle due process of law and procedure established by law. So procedure is, so you can say that if the law is formed without following the due process, okay, without following due process or without respecting the principle of natural justice, that is law should be just, fair and reasonable. If the law is not just, fair and reasonable, even the formulation of law itself is lacking the values. They are more arbitrary in nature, okay, and they will not be accepted by the society. So you can give an examples in dictatorial countries or where there is a not a substantive democracy. Most of the time the laws are framed by keeping the only minority people into their picture. Minority मतलब minority नहीं है यहाँ पे, मतलब very less number of people into picture, or the laws which serves the ruling class rather than the society. So first, right, that is about the law formation में if principle of natural justice are not followed, so obviously it creates a problem. Draconian laws, you can give certain examples. Second, law implementation. In India, this is more of a problem, that even if the laws are formed through the democratic process, but at the level of implementation, there is no professionalism in the law enforcement agencies. Most of the times you give the examples of the policing also, or for that matter any law enforcement agency, particularly while tackling the communal conflict issues. While communal conflict issues, the young people are arbitrarily picked up on the basis of their own attitude rather than on the basis of objectivity. All of you are understanding. Now what happens if you pick up somebody arbitrarily and put him into the jail, then create more problems and injustice. Because the person who is innocent, who is not involved in the riots, is continue to nurture the feeling of injustice, and he would like to take an revenge against the system. So this is how we see that if there is no professionalism in the law implementation, it is going to create the problem. So more professionalism and the objectivity and impartiality should be followed in implementation of law. I hope points are clear. Okay, with respect to, you can also mention the example of Armed Forces Special Power Act. Okay, we can see that in implementation level, there have been the cases where there is a human right violation. You can, this is not a subjective observation we are making. You can write the Supreme Court in its recent judgment has observed that there is some instances of the misuse of the law, and the people do not have the opportunity even to find the justice, because there is a blanket immunity and the protection that is given to the law enforcement agency. Likewise, you can give like 66A IT Act, which was there in the past, which was undemocratic, which was been removed. You can write the section 377. So ऐसे एक तो law के you can bring in the notions. You can bring the even the Supreme Court interpretation in right to privacy as a right to life is more liberal interpretation of the law in a democratic way. Understood? So first the law you have taken into account. Second is the democratic government. Democratic government without moral values. So you can say that even if the particular government is established on the basis of free and fair election, but later on if they turn the blind eye towards the public issues, so obviously that democratic government will also lose its legitimacy. So you can see that public welfare, you can bring here the Kautilyas also. In the happiness of the subject lies the happiness of the king. In the welfare of the subject lies the welfare of the king. So you have to relate that democratic government may, you have to keep the public as a focus of your attention. That is with the respect to democratic government. You can see that if the government is color blind to the social justice and inclusive principles, then again there will be a more tyranny, misuse of power, etc., etc. There is something called Orwellian state करके एक है. Yes, anybody knows what is Orwellian state? Orwellian state क्या है? George Orwell 1984 book. क्या है इसमें? Surveillance वगैरह. See, the thing is, so-called democratic state are not so democratic these days. Through the so-called surveillance mechanism and different notions and technologies, they are trying to bring the dictatorial elements within the democracy. It's very difficult to understand because everything is democratic, because elections are happening, everything is happening, but through different mechanism, by creating the myths and the propaganda, there is an element of demagogue. Okay, emergence of demagogue. So that has been called as Orwellian state. तो वो भी हो रहता है कि democracy only for the face of it. In fact, you can write this wonderful statement also. जैसे अब्राहम लिंकन की जो definition है democracy की. What is the definition? Yes, of the people. Yes, by the people and for the people. But you can say that the democracy without is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Okay, that is what is happening in democracy. So you can write that also. That is, if a genuine democratic elements, if will not be there, then it is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Okay, so that's about the democratic government. Next is with respect to market economy. Market economy, you can write in one line, first of all, what is market economy? Market economy based upon laissez-faire principle, where there is no intervention of state. And it is being said that there is so-called invisible hand to distribute the income, or trickle-down approach. So you can say that without the state intervention, it creates the वही जो ऊपर लिखा है enclaves of modernity and the prosperity. And there is no equitable distribution of income in the market economy. So market economy gives more rise to the inequalities, although it gives rise to the growth, but that growth is not equitable. You can give an example of 2008 and 9 crisis. Global economic crisis is a manifestation of failure of market model. You can also write inherent in the market model is a greed. Okay, and the greed component is very much entrenched into the market economy system. So you can write that way and say that unless and until it is complemented by redistribution of the income, it faces the problem in the long run, the way it has happened in the 2008 economic crisis. Understood? So आपको एक एक component लेके उसके ऊपर दो लाइनें लिखनी. Okay, that is it about.
Adhering to the moral values of the
Yes, you can say that more acceptance. Okay. Yes, certainly. Yes. Now the case studies. Case studies, if you see the compared to the last year's, any year's case studies, this year's case study well pretty straightforward. Okay. And one case study, in fact, this first case study itself, it's a repeated case study. Okay, it's like a verbatim. In I think in 2 years back, the same case study appeared. So you can imagine, like 250 words, 20 markers, as it is. Okay, they have repeated it. Okay, let's discuss. You are an honest and responsible civil servant. You often observe, this is very important. See, this case study, I would say that if you can write well, you can impress the examiner very, very well, because this has a plenty of scope. And this is going to trap you also. Okay, so either way, either you will get trapped, or you can show, if your conscience is really very high, so obviously you can get out of it and show that you are very man of integrity, etc. Okay, let's see that how you can sail through this question. You are उन्होंने बता ही रखा, you are an honest and responsible civil servant. You often observe following. There is a general perception, I'll read all the points first. There is a general perception that adhering to the ethical conduct may face the difficulty to oneself, and it may cause the problem for the family, whereas unfair practices may help you to reach the career goals. So the first statement is saying that more the ethical you are, more the problem you will face at your individual level also, or at family level also. Think of Ashok Khemka. Okay. So more number of transfer. I think 50 transfer has happened some 2-3 days back. Okay. 51. 51 in 22 years, 24 years. Family, obviously, the spouse has to shift the basis. The school will change. Lot many problems. Okay. Second, it is saying that when the number of people are adopting unfair mean is large, small minority having a penchant towards the ethical means make no difference. So you will be just drop in an ocean. They are saying that whole system is corrupt. पहले तो वो बोल रहे हैं आपके लिए difficult होगा, फिर बोल रहे हैं चलो ये मान लेते हैं कि you will be an honest. But what difference that is going to make when you are just an drop in an ocean? Quite agreeing. मतलब लग रहा है बहुत convincing. No, I'm not saying that. The point seems to be very convincing. Okay. The point number 3. Sticking to ethical means is detrimental to the larger developmental goals. If you say more ethics, so GDP will not grow. We will not grow. So it will be. जैसे आपने environment impact assessment लाया, social impact assessment लाया, ग्राम सभा की consent लाई, national green tribunal लेके आए, PIL form किया, इतने सारे ethics आ जाएंगे तो development is not taking off. Quite powerful statement. And the last one, while one may not involve oneself in the large unethical practices, but giving and accepting small gifts make the system more efficient. Okay, बहुत ज़्यादा 2G VG scam हम नहीं बात कर रहे, but Apple लेने वाला तो चलेगा, ठीक है? So that is what the statement is. Now if you see all the statements, this is the attitude of the society in general. Question is saying that examine the above statements with respect to merits and demerits. Now this is a very good question, I would say, and here you have a lot of scope of writing. So let's see the first question. First question is talking about dichotomy between the problems you face at individual level versus your ethical practice. Not only problems they are saying, you will also, if you follow unethical practice, maybe you will serve your career goals also. What is the merit of the statement and what is the demerit? How do you write the merit of the statement? Merit of the statement, you can go with the statement itself. You can see that it is a less difficult path to follow. Less difficult path, more is the comfort. Okay, you can say that there will be a comfort at individual level. Okay, there will be a comfort at individual level, and you can say that following unethical practices help me in my promotion and my posting also. That is your career goals. Remember this, the question says merit and demerit, but I would advise do not write a paragraph on the merit. If you are writing a paragraph on the merit and you are putting the demerit one or two mechanical point, how does it sound? It means that your whole heart is, yes, this is correct. Okay. So the more less merit you are writing, it means that examiner is also getting impressed that you really don't have to have points for the merit. You are not thinking, your line of thinking is more towards demerit. So reserve all your points for the demerit. So demerit में पहले ही shatter कर दो उस statement को, that is dedication to the public service is the value that is required to be upholded by the civil servant. Civil servant should keep aside his personal interest, okay, and work in the larger public interest. Second thing is, you can say that problems in the family is a part and parcel. And if you are going to take this issue into consideration, so you will not able to serve the society. You can give an, just now we are given the Ashok Khemka's example, and you can say that there are plenty of the people who are working even at the cost of the personal interest. The whole issue that, because see, the private organization is for the your profit and the personal goals. You can also say that the fair practices also help in meeting the career goals. Okay, career goals is not just about the materialistic notion of happiness. Okay, by doing a good work, you can also get a recognition and the reward for your honesty and integrity. In fact, that sense of satisfaction is far more important for me than the materialistic career goals that I am going to get. So try to show that, first of all, it is your duty to serve in a public interest, and second is your individual notion of good is not about having a shortcuts, following unethical practices and aim as the property at individual level, but to serve. That is, your conscience will not permit you to do for, because you have entered into the civil services for the larger public interest. I hope you have done it. So second thing is, when the number of the people are adopting unfair means is large, your small effort will not make a difference. This is very important. Merit क्या लिखोगे इसका? Is there any merit? That is demerit में आएंगे हम. Okay.
Ease of working.
Yes, ease of working. So you are not moving from the mainstream, and again not facing any harsh treatment. You will not be isolated in the system. So you will be the part of the system and the smooth sailing again. But then demerit में इसमें काफी लिखा जा सकता है. इसमें 3-4 पॉइंट पहले तो ऐड कर दो आप. Whether I should be honest and not honest should not be determined how many other people are honest and dishonest. My honesty is related with whether I am honest or not, completely depends on my conscience and my following of the goals and principles of organization. Even nobody is honest, that does not make any difference to me. Second thing is, because there are so many dishonest, that becomes all the more essential that I should remain honest. Okay, in order to maintain some sort of the balance into the system. You can write that way also. Yes, some other thing if you can mention. You can see that history is a testimony to the fact that the people who remain honest and stick to the commitment, even when they are small in number, they are the one who have made the difference to the course of the history. It has never been a majority of the people who are doing some, coming up with the idea. It is always that tinder or the fire should come from, tinder these days is a very different, the fire लिखिए, ठीक है, otherwise बहुत unethical हो जाएगा वो. The tinder or the fire is always with the same individual mind. Like I think of, again you can write lot many, like Martin Luther King Jr., he has thought that obviously this racial discrimination was wrong. He was thought of changing these things. He stick to it and people have followed him. Think of Gandhi, who believed in the non-violence. He was the first, and then the whole people followed, and then rest is the history. So you can see that change will always come. You can also remain optimistic. You can say that if the leader is following the path, then obviously he is going to motivate his subordinates and people will join the process. You can give the example of TN Session. He was alone. The system was so corrupt, that is a free and fair election, and how he has brought in the reforms into the system. So number of examples can be given. You can write that statement also. Journey of the 1,000 steps starts with the single step. Okay, no matter however single you are, but the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the single step. So you can add a lot many things here. Next is sticking to ethical means is detrimental to larger developmental goals. Okay. So merit में आप ये लिख सकते हो कि yes, the not following the path in a sense that every social things may help you in getting the GDP growth rate very high. Okay, you can say that GDP growth rate is very high and that may be helpful. Do not write much there. Okay, again in demerit, then you try to question what sort of the development that you are trying to say. Okay, the development which is a lopsided, which is not equitable. So if you see, the thing is, if you will not follow the ethical means, what sort of development you are going to get? So economy minus social equity and economy minus environmental values. Okay. So you can say that if the social equity is not there, the growth which is only for the section of the society, that is where we see the, just now we have spoken about this Oxfam report. So it is going to create the islands of prosperity. It is going to, that sort of economy is only for the section of the society and it will not be redistributed among the public. You can again write redistribution, if not there, then it is going to create a chaos in the society and it will be a security threat in the long run. You can say that if the development is not complemented by ethical values such as environment, it is going to degrade the environment in the long run, and in fact it reduces the capacity to develop in the long run, because if the environment will be degraded, it is going to reduce the capacity to develop. So such development will not be sustainable in the long run. So you can say that for the broader, okay, and the sustainable development, we need to complement the economy with this ethical values of social equity, ethical values such as environmental values, so that environment will be a more broad-based, that is a inclusive development as well as the sustainable development. Without these values, there is a lopsided development. I hope points are clear. Next is, while one may not involve in oneself into the large unethical practices, but small gifts are acceptable. Yes, merit, you can see that small gift may act as an incentive for a person to work more. Okay, that at individual level, it may benefit him. That's it. You should not write much. That is making it most efficient. In demerit, what you are going to write? First of all, you see here what is written, by giving the small gift. Okay, first of all, question any, whether it is a small or the big. Wrong is a wrong, no matter whatever is the size. Okay. Something which is wrong, whether it is a single penny or 1,000 rupees or whatever the thing is wrong and it cannot be justified. So first put that thing. Second is, they have used the word small. Now this small is a very subjective thing. It's putting you into the slippery slope argument. What is small for someone may not be the small. All of you are understanding. So again, it will set a very wrong precedence, and therefore it is going to create more and more problems. All of you are understanding. The small is so subjective that obviously you cannot subjectively define what is small, and therefore it is wrong. First of all, तो आप बोलो कि small नहीं चलेगा. मतलब it is a wrong thing. Therefore it should be a what? Come on. Please, not in ethical class. Okay. Now I cannot speak anything here. Okay. Come to the third point. Okay, that is the gift. You can write the gifts can be only given. See, the thing is, what about the downtrodden and the most, you can say that, poorest of poor? Poorest of poor will not have anything to serve. So obviously, in that particular case, if you are seeing that only through this mechanism there is a motivation, so obviously it is not going to happen. So that third argument also can be can be written, that only a rich class or the class who has a good purchasing power can able to give. Only then it acts as an incentive. So that's also a very wrong argument, because everybody do not have the purchasing power, or they don't have the entitlements. You can say that worst of the population ke liye that will be far more difficult. So you can say that any small gift, whatever the amount is, absolutely unwarranted or should not be accepted. I hope points are very clear. Okay, so that was a very good question. You could have written much on this particular question. In fact, you can conclude in saying that be the change you want to see in the world. Okay, जिसमें वो minority लिखा है ना, you will be minor in number. तो उसमें आप डाल सकते हो, that is be the change you want to see in the world. That even if you are a small, it does not matter. Yes, next is you are an aspiring IS officer. So this is a typical case which is generally, मतलब ये भी बहुत difficult नहीं था, but how you are going to approach that was more important. This case was, you are an aspiring to become an IS officer, you have cleared the various stages and now you have been selected for your interview. On day of interview, on the way of the venue, you saw an accident where the mother and the child, who happened to be a relative, is badly injured. They needed an immediate help. What would you have done in the situation and justify your action? Okay. Until you make it, fake it. Okay. That's the point. I hope that everybody should have the moral conscience and write the answer as per the conscience. But that's how you have to tackle the question now, by your conscience, I would say. Yes, let's move on to this part, how to address this question. See, the thing is, in such cases, now you see the question, they are not asked what are the different options, give the merit and demerit. This sort of question we have seen in last 3-4 years. This question is 250 words, 1 page, 2 page, 2.5 page, 20 words answer. Now in this question you can first introduce one paragraph with respect to the dilemma. Okay, first of all you can write the stakeholder, and second you can write the dilemma. First stakeholder, you as a person, your family and the victim. Third is the UPSC as a stakeholder, and fourth is the society by and large. So just write that, and most important is the second part is a dilemma. So dilemma you can write, one is with respect to your professional goal, that is getting an IS officer or your success in your career, and second is with respect to life of people, that is with respect to the empathy and compassion that has to be shown. So this was a dilemma in front of you. So you can go step by step. Okay, so the first step you are going to take is obviously stop yourself and go to the situation, and the very first step is obviously the first aid, if you can think of. Okay, if the person is in a situation, in precarious situation, you will try every ditch of your attempt to make the person stable. So ranging from first aid, and if you are medicos you can write CPR if you know, मतलब अगर add कर सकते हो तो CPR क्या है? Cardiopulmonary resuscitation, जो basic life support है, जैसे push करके देना. नहीं है तो कोई बात नहीं है, बस you write that first aid and to make the person stable. Second obvious thing is obviously you will going to call ambulance. But remember that you are going to call 3 people simultaneously, obviously not in one call. Ambulance, police and relatives. Okay. So all of you are understanding. Ambulance obviously to take the person to the vehicle. Because this is a case of accident, so the police cases, and obviously in these days the rule has been changed, but still it requires the case to be filed up. Therefore you are informing the police also, and you are informing the relative also. Now the relative is important here because you are also going to attend the interview. So you are making the person stable, you are handing over the responsibility to the responsible person, and you are moving on to the situation. So you are calling ambulance, police and the relatives. Third part which is important, which many must have been forgotten, you should call to the UPSC also. Okay, or whatever where your venue is. just to inform that such and such situation has happened. This is for two reasons, like to, if at all, if you get late and any, if your claim is not being taken into account, so obviously you have created one space so that to tell them that this was the situation that has happened, and it creates a more scope for accepting your plea in that particular situation. All of you are understanding? So you can just inform them that I have caught up in, यहाँ पे ये कोई नहीं दिख रहा है कि ये इससे यूपीएससी इंटरव्यू का शेड्यूल चेंज कर देगी या नहीं कर देगी. This is not the thing. It is only a logical steps that naturally that should come that are being asked. Are you pragmatic enough to understand that you also understand there is something your professional career, and at the same time there is your life and death battle also, and are you able to try and balance both the things simultaneously? So third thing is, you are going to call them and tell them that you might be late but you will try to come to within a time only. Okay, so tell them. Next thing obviously is you have to write some values here. Okay, first value you have to, so this is some of the steps, like you go into the hospital and then hand over the first aid and then rush to the things. So these are the 4 or 5 logical steps are there. So one paragraph should be written on this. Then why you are going to take such steps, in between the dilemma, why you have not chosen one over the other, why not you have rushed to the examination directly, ignoring this thing. So you can write, first of all, you can say that the life of the human being is very priceless, and obviously that should be given the first importance. In fact, you can write, to become a good civil servant, you need to become a first good human being. So that's the point, because I am going for the civil services. I have this thought in mind, conscience. My conscience was dictating how can I become a civil servant to serve the society. Tomorrow some accident will happen. So this situation is, yes, you have to write this way, because your emotion should come out and some originality will be reflected in the answer. If you are only writing professional versus life, time khatam ho gaya, life, professional, integrity, personal interest, it sounds very nonsense. Okay, it's like an machine में से कुछ निकल रहा है, ठीक है? It's so mechanical. इस आंसर में आपको थोड़ा सा emotive touch देना है, ठीक है? So you have to write this kind of statement, that to become a good civil servant, you need to become a good human being first. Second is, you need to bring a component of emotional intelligence. Okay, we have discussed that emotional intelligence will help you in facing the crisis. So you can say that at this particular time, because my relatives are there, which are equally important, life is equally important, at the same time it is the moment of my life. On a professional side. So it is going to create a dichotomy within me, but I will use an emotional intelligence to calm myself and to take a responsible decision. Understood? So this you have to write. Third, you can in general also make a statement, it is not just because of my mother and children are there, even if it would have been the stranger, I would have taken the same step. Just to clear that, it's not because your relative you have stopped there and you have become a more, because that's more about the nepotism side. Even you have stopped there because somebody was in the crisis and almost injured and required an immediate help, therefore you have stopped. So you have to write some of the philosophical things also to justify the answer. Then you can write, you go there and attain, you will try your best of the attempt to reach there within the time. If you are not reaching the time, you are taking some papers that what you have, जैसे FIR hospital का कुछ xerox लेके चले गए, in order to make your claim more stronger, that this is what I have gone through and therefore I have become the late. You can say that even if unfortunately if I will not able to make it, still I will be feel happy that I have helped the person in the crisis, because in the long run this is going to create a cognitive dissonance in mind. Cognitive dissonance is a feeling of repentance or something that this has happened and that has happened. So you can say that I would still feel happy about the thing that I have done what is most required in a given situation. Had I could manage both the things, I would have managed it, but one situation required more attention over the other. So I have to prioritize one over the other at the cost of the other. You have to write this way. I hope points are clear. Okay. Yes, certainly. You can mention this way also. So this is the one way of writing the answer. Second way of writing the answer is you create a 3 option also and then write the merit and demerit. Like ignore it completely, attend it. Write the merit, write the demerit. Second is ignore the UPSC completely, which is not going to happen. Okay, you are writing the exam also, so it might. Okay, write the second, and you say that. लाइफ में करियर इन दिस थिंग इज नॉट सो इम्पोर्टेंट, ऐसे तो नहीं लिखा जाएगा, बट यू कैन राइट दैट वे. इट डज नॉट मैटर. थोड़ा सा रूथलेसली लिखो और बहुत एम्पैथेटिक बताओ. एग्जाम्स विल कम एंड गो, करियर विल कम एंड गो, बट द लाइफ इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके, लाइक दिस. एंड देन थर्ड पॉइंट, यू कैन राइट मोर बैलेंस्ड. ओके, there is a combination of idealism and pragmatism. I have to balance the Buddha's middle path. I should not leave one over the other. I should hand over the responsibility also. At the same time, my individual thing is also important. So neither I am compromising on this issue. I will attend it immediately and hand over the responsibility to someone, and then I will rush. And this is how I will try to find out the balance between both professional as well as the personal or the societal issues. So this way also you can write. Okay. Yes, next question is with regard to question number 11. You are head of the one of the. Okay, yes. This question is with regard to. Okay, I'll read straightforward. You are the head of the human resource department. One day, one of the workers died on the duty. His family was demanding the compensation. However, the company denied the compensation because it was revealed in the investigation that the person who died was a drunk at the time of accident. The worker of the company went on the strike demanding the compensation of the family of the deceased. Chairman of the management of the board asks you for the recommendation. What sort of recommendation? Discuss the merit and demerit. So the case here is one person died inside the organization, and because he died in the official hours, the family and the workers are demanding the compensation since he has died during the official hours while working. But the manager and the official organization has to say that he died because he was drunk, and therefore organization was not responsible for his personal misadventure, for his personal unethical behavior. Okay, and therefore he died. So organization don't have any liability. Now the organization has asked for your recommendation. Simultaneously workers are also protesting. Now here you can use that, you can give the different alternatives also. In fact, they have asked what are the recommendation you can give and provide the merit and demerit of each one of the recommendation, and naturally which one you will prefer over the rest of the things. So first you can write introduction if you wish to, or you can straightforward give the different recommendation. Introduction में आप simple सा एक logic use कर सकते हो, that is the stakeholders, different stakeholders. So in this case, workers' family as a one stakeholder, they are victims. Second is a organization. Third is a worker overall. Okay, so these are the 3 broader stakeholders in the case, and for each one you can write one point. What is their concern? So that is one thing you can write. So recommendation you can write in 3 different forms. So the first is you can say that yes, compensation should be given. Compensation should be given without any delay. Without any delay. So merit, you can write merit is because the worker is a part and parcel of the organization. He is a part and parcel of the family of company. He put his toil or the sweat in the working, and therefore if anything goes wrong, the organization yes, responsible, or you can say that organization should extend the helping hand to the person as a part of organization's family. That's also help in इसमें ये भी लिखा जा सकता है कि family जो है उसमें लिखा हुआ है family को compensation मिल जाएगा. Second is protest एक हो रहा है, protest भी खत्म हो जाएगा. Okay, so that is how it can happen. What is the demerit of this? Yes, it might it will set a bad precedence. It might set a bad. Yes, you want to say something? Yes. No? Okay. It might set a bad precedence because a person was drunk and therefore he was. It was not a mishap that has happened because of the failure of some machinery or any other particular problem. It was a behavior because of his, he was a drunk and therefore he lost his life. So something which the organization as a whole is not responsible for his personal act. So tomorrow might it happens that some personal misbehavior or personal unethical things, and this will set a wrong precedent. Everybody will try to claim for their unethical behavior. Yes, yes, we are going to write that in the more options. Yes, certainly. I hope point is clear. Why the
That was established.
Yes.
How do we know that the exact cause of his death? It could also mean that the corporate has something to do with the company.
Yes, that is what we are saying. We haven't established and we are straightforward. He was drunk and died and therefore we are helping. तो वो ये एक option है. हम वो option, yes, certainly we are going into the more and more options. Straightforward, somebody asking straightforward, you haven't done anything and you gave the compensation. That is what we are discussing. You haven't done any investigation, what has happened, why has happened, etc. Okay. You are going to reject obviously the option because the demerit is something that may set in wrong precedents because organization has not done the holistic surveillance of the problem. What has happened, why has happened. It's simply because people are protesting, he was drunk, you offered him the punishment. Okay. The very point of showing he was drunk, it was trying to show that organization का कोई बहुत ज़्यादा उसमें mistakes नहीं था. This was pointing to this particular fact. What they are trying to show by this thing is, if the organization is not responsible and if you follow some unethical behavior, how much is the liability of organization to offer the compensation. जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि भोपाल गैस ट्रेजेडी है, so इसमें organization के कारण वो हुआ है, and therefore there are victims. The question is trying to say that the victim for his own reason died, okay, and therefore how much we should make the organization responsible. तो एक component हमने ये बनाया. Second component में you can write and see that compensation is not given completely, like rejected completely, flatly rejected, and say that law will take its own course. If it is applied in a case, मतलब जैसे रहता है ना कि इंश्योरेंस के लिए बहुत सारे राइडर्स रहते हैं. If you are dying of such things because of alcohol consumption and because of this, you will not be given the insurance. So let them take, the law will take its own course. So उसमें merit क्या आ जाएगा, इसका उल्टा आ जाएगा. Merit is that the organization is quite profession and it is unrelenting with respect to the emotional demand of the workers. Demerit क्या हो जाएगा, organization, it might appear as if organization is apathetic towards the workers and the worker demand might continue and escalate and it creates the problem for the organization. All of you are understanding what is the merit and demerit. On one side you are taken a very professional stand and you are letting the law to take its own course, but you might face the problem. This is the second one. Now the third and the fourth one, which can be a combination of your answer, you can see that, see, the compensation cannot be obviously granted on the basis of he is a drunk. But this is very correct that somebody has lost the life and therefore family is in danger or facing the crisis. So you can find certain alternative methods, not through the, because he was drunk and died, therefore we are compensating. Find certain alternatives to help the family in order to help the family in the crisis. Like say for example, providing the employment to some of the members of the family or any alternative sources of livelihood for the family. You can also say that from the CSR fund, some helping hand can be given to the family from CSR. It's not a legal obligation, I'm saying you. Not out of the legal obligation, but just out of the empathy and compassion towards the family whose breadwinner has lost the life. Not as a part of a legal combination, compensation. Is the point correct? That is an alternative method. I'll come. Okay, alternative method to compensate through the CSR or through any different mechanism you can see. That's the third point you are writing. Merit you can write here. Merit is you are helping them also. This protest will also go down, and you are not giving the compensation as a part of organization responsibility. Okay. The fourth you are going to write is you are going to, yes, investigate the matter. Okay, this is an immediate thing that you have taken. In the long term you are saying you are going to investigate the matter first. Then you are going to find investigation for this particular person. Why the person was drunk? Is the issue of stress out of his work and therefore he is drunk and therefore he has lost his life? Quite possible that he is overburdened, and maybe it will help in avoiding such mishap in future, that many of the workers are finding the organization work is quite stressful. So the investigation will come to know that whether it is his behavioral problem or not. Second thing is you have to also create a robust mechanism that how, because of lack of, you can say that this sort of surveillance or check, that no person who is a drunk is allowed to work in an organization. There is a lapse of organization because there was not a machinery in place to check that a worker with in a drunken state is allowed to work. So you can say that in the long run investigation is done and find the causes, and likewise the issue is addressed. Second is a well-proof system is placed where the safety standards are taken into account, and at the same time robust mechanism to see that nobody or no worker is allowed to enter and allowed to work during the working hours in a drunken state. So this sort of robust mechanism. So you can say that in the long run the employees will be briefed about the code of conduct that needs to be strictly followed. There is a code of conduct that you should not come this way. Second is organization will be briefed that in any such case if the behavioral is observed, he will be punished, he will be suspended. Third thing is you are going to create a mechanism that every day there should be a check that person should not enter, and likewise the steps should be taken in the long run. So what you are doing in the 3 and 4 is in the short term you are trying to address the issue also, and you are in the long term you are trying to prevent such things from happening in future, as well as some sort of the mechanism is being created so that person should not come drunk and practice. Understood? Third and fourth. Okay, yes, any other question? Yes, please ask. You.
Options, long term and short term.
Short term.
These are good options. They don't have any demerit.
Yes. नहीं, इसमें डीमेरिट नहीं, आप कौन सा ऑप्शन लोगे? दो ऑप्शन ले लो और तीसरा आप चूज कर सकते हो. डीमेरिट ये हो सकता है कि नहीं, सी द थिंग इज ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब आप डीमेरिट ही लिखो. दो ऑप्शंस लिखिए, आपने रिजेक्ट कर दिए, एंड देन यू आर राइटिंग योर कोर्स ऑफ एक्शन व्हाट इट वुड बी. ठीक है, योर फाइनल ऑप्शन. ओके, पहले आपने दो लिख के रिजेक्ट कर दिए बिकॉज दे वर नॉट कंप्लीटली फुल प्रूफ, and then you have taken the third option which is a full proof. Yes, employment has to be given, but it should be stated very clearly. Yes, it is going to state a wrong precedent, but the premise that you are using is not, it is your obligation and the legal duty because of which he died and therefore you are providing. ये नहीं है उसका cause. ठीक है?
There is a law like the Workmen's Compensation Act provides that in such circumstances the compensation should be given. But if the organization has then code of conduct that if something happens like this in intoxicated state, then the organization will not pay. So in that dilemma, what would happen?
Okay. If the law is in place, organization requires to follow the law. Okay. नहीं, code of conduct आप बना ही नहीं सकते ना. See, the law is for the nation as a whole. When the law is in place, in fact, it is a double jeopardy for the organization, problem for the organization. First of all, what the law is stating, there is a maternity benefit law hai. You cannot say that I will not have the law if all the requirements are in place. So in fact, there will be a dual problem for the organization. Understood? So usme to court of law will take its course, that why the organization has not come up with the compensation. Understood? Yes, next question. I think how many are remaining? 3. This is question, I will not read the question as a whole, just I'll read the gist of it. So this question is related to two individual, that is A and B. Let's put it A and B, the parts of the company A and company B. Okay, so A is from one particular company, small company, and B is from the, let's put it as a big company. The spare part. So the two individuals are coming together and they have settled with one particular deal. Okay, that is some sort of contract that they are decided upon. Now what has happened after the deal is fixed or sealed between the two individuals? So the B is saying that, okay, I'll drop you at home, and therefore they are leaving the place after sealing the deal. On their en route, okay, so the accident has happened. Obviously the B was driving the car, A was sitting in the car, and B happens to injure C. Now the question is, the police has rushed to the spot and obviously is putting some charges here on the driver. Now you are the only evidence. Now the question is, are you going to be an evidence against B, with whom you have sealed the deal? It's being said that the deal is very important for you as a career, for your company to grow, etc., etc. This is a contract in between you. C is obviously the stranger. So the question says that, what are the dilemmas that you face, and what will be your response to the situation? Okay. What are the dilemmas you face? How you are going to write? Yes. What sort of different types of dilemmas? Yes, you can find the stakeholders and you can write the dilemma. See, the 3-4 person are here. One is the you, second is the culprit, third is the victim, 4 is the police or the society in general, and 5th is your organization. So if you put these people in the picture, you will certainly write the answer. First of all, you can say that your individual interest, professional goal, that is your professional goal or professional benefit likhe. Professional benefit versus comes in conflict with the justice. Okay, professional goal comes in conflict with justice. That is to save the deal from happening or to provide the justice to the system. Second, maybe let's assume for a while you are a man of conscience. You want to put the justice, but you have also a responsibility of the organization. So you can write the second conflict can be individual conscience, individual or personal conscience versus organizational benefit. Personal conscience versus organizational benefit, or company's conscience versus. Then broadly, that is a company's interest versus life of individual. Life of individual. Or you can say that if you want to write individual also, you can write the society at large, that is in general with respect to the justice. Company goal versus broadly the society's principle of justice. On one hand side there is an organization. See, it's come very close to this, but here we are talking individually. Here we are not talking individually. On one side both are others. One side the company as a whole, one side the society as a whole. Here we are talking about individual, personal versus others. So some sort of dilemmas you can write, that individual to individual क्या रहेगा, individual to your organization क्या रहेगा, and organization to societal level. Explain this in 1 or 2 lines, that how the conflict is playing its part. Apart from these dilemmas, you can also write one paragraph with respect to different values that comes into play. That is a value conflict. Value conflict, again you can write life, justice, empathy and compassion, justice for the victim, upholding the law of the society, etc., etc. So these are the also values come into picture. Now what step you are going to, what will be your response to the situation. Now again, you can write the response depending upon how much space you have already occupied with this. If this has not, then you can give the 3 different responses also. That is where you have helped, where you have not helped, and etc. But here, since the question is already in the 2 parts, so the 10 marks dilemma or introduction के लिए आप दे सकते हो. That is, what are the different values into this picture and what is my dilemma. This is a 10 mark. Second part is what is your response and why you are going to respond in that manner. So you can write explicitly that yes, I am going to be the witness for the case. So you are going to be the witness for the case, so you can write different things. So first obvious thing is the incident has happened, something wrong has been committed, and the person got injured. So you can say that for the sake of the victim, to provide the justice to him, I will go with respect to the acting as an evidence. So first point of justification is from point of view of victim. You can say that the innocent person who got hurt, it is my responsibility as a civic duty to help the victim in the crisis. You can say that. Second thing is you can say in it with respect to the upholding the law and order of the system, that if you today will not support, then there will be a lot of pessimism in the society which is already there, that the laws are not being implemented in the latent spirit. So it might not have the deterrence effect in the long run. Today, if I am helping the victim, it is not for the sake of this instance only, but also to have a deterrence in the longer run. Because I believe that if the people are not punished, okay, then there will be a no fear in the future also. So you can say that from point of view of a B also, because in fact the question also mentions he was driving rash. Okay, that's also mentioned. He was driving rash and therefore it was his mistake that he rammed into the victim. So you can say that if he will be left unpunished, then this behavior might continue. So today I have pardoned him, but tomorrow again he will go and ram into someone else. Therefore, if the mistake has happened, it has to be punished so that this mistake should not happen in future. So second point, B के point of view से लिखो. Third, society के point of view से. पहला victim, second B's point of view, he should be held punishable. Third is overall the law enforcement agency and upholding the law of the land, which is your primary duty. Then coming to with respect to this part, your organization and your own self, you can say that my conscience is very clear to help the company. The only hurdle which is coming in my path is organizational interest. So you can say that if my conscience is not right, okay, and if I will not able to bring it into the practice, then obviously you can say that my whole productivity with respect to the organization and even the organizational values, like here you can bring with respect to the good corporate governance also. Just now we have discussed that is a CSR. CSR is just one part of good corporate governance. Good corporate governance, that the healthy principles that your organization follow. So you can see that what I believe in, if I can bring into the practice, that also help in organization progressing on the on principled lines rather than on the unethical principles. You can also mention with respect to deals, because nobody would going to say, you can see that this deal, there is the deal has been sealed because of economic reasons. It's not in philanthropy and charity ki B is offering the some subsidy or benefits. You can see that the logic of the deal was the economics. So who knows that the deal will also continue, because B, it is going to benefit the B also. So the mere my response may not have any implication on the deal also, because the logic of economy will continue and the deal will progress. You can also take an, मतलब कभी-कभी पूछता नहीं है लेकिन आपको लिखना पड़ता है. Who knows that this story will get published in the this thing newspaper item, and this that the person who was from the small company has acted as a witness against the big company. This might increase the value of a company in the long run also, and it might benefit indirectly to the company by increasing its moral value or the goodwill among the people. Have you understood this part? Or on the contrary, it can go contrary also. This victim is going to publish something which states that this company and his head was driving and he was the one who has not spoken about it. That's also can happen. All of you are understanding. So 3-4 points from individual point of view, B's point of view, police point of view, in futuristic point of view, and deals. You have to cover all the things, and you can see that my conscience is quite clear and I have to see the two things separately. You can see that the economy of a company, status of a person, and his materialistic benefit will have no bearing upon my decision with respect to acting as evidence for the innocent person. So what I am going to do otherwise, that I am going to do irrespective of what the deal is. Understood? That you are able to keep the two things separately. You as a civic duty and the company's things. Okay. I'll give in two options also. This is one directly answers you can write because this question has not forced you to give the options. Let's put two more options here. This is the final options. इसके पहले एक options put करते हैं कि completely ignoring the victim and this merit लिख सकते हो कि greatest happiness of greatest members, my company was important, employee is important, professional goals, B is also important, and therefore I have gone for it. Okay, that is one option. That completely ignoring, because this small incidents here and there, it is a question of one individual, but here it is a question of more number of employees of both the organization, therefore I have gone for the greatest happiness of greatest member principle. Demerit लिखा जा सकता है कि innocent victim will not get justice. You can even write overall it will impact the society's attitude towards justice. Second is very interesting option you can make. You can give the compensation there and there itself, some monetary, and say that not to file the case. Okay, all of you are understanding. Okay, इसको पकड़ लिया, इसको बोल दिया हाँ बताओ कितना 5,000 है, ले लो 10,000. Okay, रफा दफा हो जाइए. Okay, you have given, so merit में आप लिख सकते हो, we have created a win-win situation wherein we have compensated also and we have upholded the relationship also. Now it sounds to be a very practical thing to do, but how does it sound morally? Is it a right way of doing the things? You have negotiated the crime from happening. It has the two negative repercussions. First is the culprit who has made the mistake is left unpunishable. Therefore, it might embolden his spirit for the future and he will commit the crime again and again. Second is, it means that you can negotiate the crime with money. Okay, so you run on the pavement and then say that I run the Being Human organization and therefore my crime has to be negotiated. So there is an unconditional necessity to uphold the justice irrespective of any order. Okay, that cannot be negotiated. Immanuel Kant has one principle, categorical imperative. Categorical imperative means unconditional necessity to uphold a particular value no matter whatever the circumstances are. Such values cannot be negotiated. It simply means that you have negotiated the crime with the money and compensation. So yes, these three options also can be given. Depending upon space how you have, you can give the options in this thing. But remember, where the options and recommendation and merit and demerit is asked, you have to give the options. The next 13 and 14. 13. A building with, okay, I'll directly mention what is the case and what are the values. This case is related with building, that is, yes, a builder is permitted to make 3-story building, 3 floor. So he has a permit to make only 3 floors, but illegally he has gone on construction of 6 floors. Okay, illegally he has constructed 6 floors and he has a permission of 3 floors. Unfortunately, the next 3 floors jo hai, that collapsed, and this collapse leads to the killing of or innocent laborers, including the women and children died. These laborers are the migrants from the different places. The government immediately announced the cash relief to the aggravated families and arrested the builders. Give the reasons for such incidences taking place in the country and suggest the measures to prevent them. Okay, so yes, what are reasons? You can write here straightforward. These instances are very much, and these are the reasons करके लिख सकते. एक ही line sufficient है. That such instances are not very uncommon. This is not an isolated single instance. Such instances are very common, and following are the reasons why such instances are happening in the society. Yes, what are the reasons? Yes, first of all, the greed. Okay, that's very important. Before writing anything, why you are making more floors? Because to earn more money. Okay, so the greed in the builders, corporate, okay, which is forcing them to go for creating more number of floors, even at the cost of the life of individual. You can see that the greed component, or you can say that the materialistic values, or the greed for something is far more important than even the life of the people. That is one thing. Why the corporates or the builder is creating. Now, second is, do you think, not only implementation, do you think that such things is happening without the connivance of anyone? Okay, yes, obviously, there is a nexus. It seems that there is an unholy nexus in between the builders and the politico-administrative class. Okay, because norms are very clear. It has been given that 3 floors is accepted, but you are going for building, and such instances are not very uncommon. So it represents the nexus in between builder class and the politico-administrative class. Second, you can write, yes, apathy on part of the administrators, particularly apathy on part of administrators to follow, to see that whether the norms are being followed on the ground or not. Okay, you have permitted for 3 and there is no vigilance, surveillance. That is an apathy on part of you to check those things. Okay, the fourth thing, yes, अब बताइए इसके बाद क्या हो सकता है? Yes, very good. That is one. Or who? Migrant are not aware, तो उसमें safety. Okay. What else? Lack of stress mapping. Which mapping? Okay, disaster risk. Okay. यहाँ पे मतलब vulnerability of the territory की वजह से collapse नहीं हुआ है. ठीक है. Yes, quality of the product is also not good, etc., etc. There are a lot many things. First of all, you can write yes, quality of products and the material. As चलो ठीक है, मान लेते हैं कि they are illegally constructing. Okay, let's assume for a while कि 6th floor का ही उनको construction के लिए मिल गए. Where does it written that if you bring in illegally extra, it should collapse? It is collapsing means there is something fishy with respect to the floor building. That means that the quality of the material that is being used for the illegal construction and the method that is to be followed, the design that is followed is going wrong somewhere. Okay, so that's one part you can write. 5th part and 6th part you can write as a part of a long-term issues here. First of all, they are constructing illegal floors and people are buying it also. Okay, are you understanding? It's not the supply side, there is also a demand side. So you can see that the people are, okay, because of variety of the reason, because of situation, they are buying the illegal construction. Okay, think of if nobody is buying illegal construction, they will not be forced to construct the illegal floors also. So you can see that there is acceptance, or you can see that the people are buying, there is a more and more demand, and therefore the corporates, which are driven by the greed and materialistic, going to an extent of constructing the illegal things because they are accepted and earning more money. In fact, 6th is extension of 5th, that why people are buying because of urbanization and not having the affordable housing. There is no planned urbanization, there is no space to live. Sometimes knowingly also they are buying the illegal construction because there is no affordable housing, there is no a good urban planning, there is no space available for the construction. So you can see that the unplanned urbanization, lack of space, more pressure on the urban, that population migration, the sum of the total of the combination, that housing is in demand, real estate in demand, and therefore they are buying it. I hope points are clear. Okay. So you can write from the greed to the nexus to the apathy to the quality towards the long term, and therefore you can see that safety. हाँ, safety assessment. Okay, इसमें आ जाएगा apathy में you can include that surveillance with respect to not following the proper norms. That not only about how much should be the building, but what should be the quality of material that should be used. Now, the question says that suggest measures to prevent occurrence of these instances in the future. Yes, what you are going to do, in fact, yes. Yes, solution to the reasons, that's the easiest way. See, the thing is, one more, otherwise you can write seventh also isme, that is lack of deterrence and lack of regulation. Okay, lack of effective implementation of the law and the lack of regulation of housing sector in general लिखे. इसमें क्या है कि एक instances हुआ, दो हुए, तीन हुए, it's happening because nobody is held accountable and punished. So you can first start with the short term वाले, जो कि एक building collapse हुई है तो immediate steps क्या क्या लोगे आप? Okay, so the immediate steps, there are two sides. One is the victim side and another is the culprit. So you can say that immediately the culprit or the builder who is responsible for the housing should be caught, and obviously the charges should be framed and they should be held accountable. You can write in stating because of lack of deterrence only such instances are happening. So it is very important to fix the culpability of the offense. Okay, if the culpability of the offense is not fixed, then such things are going to repeat in the future. That is about the person who has committed the crime. उनके लिए punishment, that is deterrence theory and retributive theory. Retributive theory, that is a punishment, deterrence theory for the future. Next is victim side, compensatory justice जिसको बोला जाता है. So compensatory justice, compensation should be given. In fact, here it is important, government is putting a compensation. यहाँ पे एक और ethical angle ला सकते हो आप. Public exchequer money is being given for the loss or the mistakes that is done by the private sector. All of you understand, there is a very deep understanding. Liability of the person who has committed the crime should be held responsible. इनको punishment तो देनी ही देनी है, plus monetary compensation or whatever the compensation that victim are entitled to, that should come from the builders. All of you are understanding. Public exchequer मतलब जो बोलते हैं ना, ये privatization of the profit and socialization of the loss. Okay, what does it mean? When it profits, it is not getting shared, but when it is loss, the liability is getting shared. So the common man would pay the price of the loss for the private sector, but when the profit comes, it is not being shared. So this is a privatization of profit, but socialization of the loss. So somewhere you are saying that the culpability is not fixed and the state is responsible for the lack of, you can say that culpability of this particular case. Second thing, आप इसमें ही innovation ला सकते हो, जैसे कि जो crime है, it should be considered as culpable homicide. Okay, it should not be just a monetary and the petty crime. Because the more the here there is a life has been lost because of the mistake of builders. So obviously culpable homicide or the more stringent norms should be followed so that it creates a decision. Next thing is the investigation should be thoroughly done, that how the person, the 3rd floor which was granted, it has been gone into the 6th floor. What we are trying to see, that there is some element of connivance of politico-administrative class with respect to the builders. So the person, the political class or the administrative class who was conniving with the builders should also be held accountable, so that there will be a deterrence, that there will be no crony capitalism or the corporate and political nexus for such unethical things in future. Understood? The next point is with regard to the RERA body and etc. you can bring in, that is new bodies such as RERA, that is the Real Estate Regulatory Authority, should be created so that such instances should not happen. You can write is public awareness should be created that illegal construction should not be bought because the safety standard for such illegal construction are not followed. People are also should be made aware of their rights, that they should look for जो sanction papers है etc. कई बार क्या होता है कि illegal है उनको पता नहीं रहता है. These are illegal but people are not aware of it. So more awareness should be created that what are the do's and don'ts to be followed by the people while buying the houses. Then next is some you can say that liability is fixed. Urban planning के ऊपर last you can make a comment that urban planning, creation of satellite towns, decongestion of cities, affordable housing, these plannings will go a long way in addressing the problems in the long term. Okay. Within the, first of all, we are trying to say decongest the cities and make the satellite houses, satellite cities, so that there is a less congestion for the livelihood. Second is we are saying if at all they are there, affordable housing should be created so that they are not forced to take up illegal houses, and urban planning overall. So you can say that this combination of these factors can prevent such kind of the mishaps in the future. Okay. Next is last case again. Yes. This is a case of PIO, which is otherwise very important topic in the RTI section. More of a problem that the contemporary RTI Act, the debate which is there, उसी को थोड़ा सा case study के form में लिखा गया है. That is, we say that RTI is one of the most revolutionary act which has brought the transparency, accountability, good governance in the system, and this is lauded as one of the important revolution in a way. It has empowered the common man and etc. etc. But it has been also found that some of the members are filing the RTI with a malified intention. And they are misusing the information. That the information which they get, they are misusing it. Sometimes they are pressurizing the government, okay, that we will expose this particular information, and therefore they are extracting the money out of the authorities. That they are threatening them that we will expose this information and therefore you give us a compensation, blackmailing the authorities. In some other instances they are misusing there are certain frivolous cases also, okay, and misusing the information also. So these are the problems, not all. So the spirit of the whole case study is not all cases that are filed up are genuine cases. There are certain frivolous cases with malified intention, and therefore these cases are creating the problems for the RTI. Now the question that they have asked is, I'm reading the last 3 lines of case study also. This type of RTI activism has affected the functioning of administration adversely and also possibly jeopardized the genuineness of the application, which is essentially aimed at getting justice. What measures you will suggest to separate the genuine and the non-genuine applications? Give the merits and demerits of your suggestion. Yes, what all options you can suggest? This was a challenging question. It's not that easy. Yeah, in fact, giving the option is easy. Finding the final answer was a challenging. Yes, tell me.
So we can increase the cost of filing an application so that it can create a difference.
Yes. Now he is saying that increase the cost of application so that deterrence will be created for the frivolous cases. We are saying that he is giving one option. You can give this option, but think of what the damage it can happen. Okay. In fact, the poorest of poor will not able to pay the fees.
Today the fee is so much nominal that at least it will discourage some of the applicants.
So who are going to get discouraged with, say for example, 10 rupees is there. Tomorrow if you give 100 rupees and 1000 rupees, who are the most going to feel the heat of this? The poorest of poor. Are you understanding? Multiple filing, what about the, even if a one genuine case which I want to file but I don't have the money and it's only because of monetary issue I will not able to file. And in fact even it will not be a one case, it is going to be a plenty of cases. And those who are going to do the frivolous things, they have otherwise plenty of the, उनके लिए वो money issue नहीं है, they are earning the money out of it, misuse of, somewhere they are earning the money. All of you are understanding? Okay, money will create a more problem for the weaker section of the society to file the cases. Okay, so how you are going to see, that is the question. I want to find a particular person. How do I find the particular person? Whom do I find? Okay, anyways, first tell me the different options. Yes, please.
If your administration is correct, properly, then you should be worried about frivolous.
Yes, very good. In fact, that's the spirit which we are going to bring in the end, in the conclusion. Yes, what can be the other options? Okay, so what you are going to check, because what the RT application carries is only two things. First thing is what information do you want to get, second is the name and the address, that's it. There is no information except these two things. We can check the stakeholders or
We can mention the why information is being sought.
why information?
Is being sought. किस लिए information चाहिए, क्या reason है उनका?
Okay, reasons. Okay, I'll take that point, but I'm going to again discuss on that. We can ask for the reasons why you want the information. That is one thing. First of all, I'm creating the option first. We'll reject it. Let's say, for example, denial of application to the third party. Denial of application to third party. Third party मतलब क्या हो गया? Yes, इनके लिए information मतलब, see the thing is I should go the information because I have some work, okay, to do, and therefore I get the information for my own case. So for example, my LPG cylinder is not being delivered, so I filed the application for my own sake. So every single person has the right to file when his case is involved. That is you are directly involved in it. Third party application should be cancelled so that there will be no third person who will sell information for some unscrupulous activity. Second thing, but we are discussing merit and demerit simultaneously. Merit of this thing is third party will be curbed completely. So there will be no middleman who is taking information and harassing and etc. etc. But you can say the demerit. What is the demerit? In fact, it goes against the spirit of RTI. RTI nowhere says that information only related to you will be shared to you. All the information of all the people, what the government is doing should be put in public domain so that it should be available for all the people. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है कि 1 or 2% की information एक दूसरे के साथ share होगी. The spirit of RTI is every single person in India should have what the government is doing, except for the information which is coming under Section 8. Okay, so it completely goes against the spirit of RTI, not having the third party information. Second is the reason. The reason we are saying that while asking the RTI, you ask for the information, plus you write your address, and third is you give the reasons. Now, merit of these things, you will get to know that what is the reason that has been given. Demerit. First of all, will it be effective? Any frivolous person is going to write that I am going to information for unscrupulous purpose. How you are going to find the reason? Nobody on the earth is going to tell you that to blackmail you only I am going to file the information, or to harass someone, or for the political vendetta. What sort of the reason they are going to give? So first of all, it's ineffective practically. Second thing with respect to reason is it against the spirit of RTI. RTI says We should not bother about the reason. What the government is doing should be put in public place for everyone. Okay, whether it is a third party. Naturally when we are seeing the reason कब आता है? जब वो डायरेक्ट पार्टी नहीं रहेगा, कोई थर्ड पार्टी रहेगा, तो उसको बोलेंगे कि तुम्हें क्या करना है, ये तो इसकी इंफॉर्मेशन है, what you have to do. But the spirit of RTI is it should be available to the public that आप किसको कैसे contract allocate कर रहे हो. Are you doing the corruption or not is also a concern of every person in the society, even if he is not a part of the contract. So the reason again is not, it goes against the spirit of RTI. That's also is rejected. Now the third thing is,
this complaint can be carried forward.
so that is what we are saying, how you are going to do that. Only two things are there. So third, right, keeping the surveillance and the check on the past record applicants. You create a data of kind of applications that have been. थोड़ा सा एक big data analysis कर लो. Big data analysis में you try and find out the information that has been unscrupulously used versus the genuine information. You classify all your data कि जितनी जितनी RTI की information गई है, which are the used for the unscrupulous purposes and which are used for the scrupulous purposes. Then you try to keep the surveillance on those people who are time and again finding the RTI and they are misusing the information for the wrong purpose. All of you are understanding? Put the big data analysis and classify all the previous data, whatever the data that has been generated, into two parts and classify some of the people. See that who are those people who are frequently filing the RTI and using. We are not talking about RTI frequently है मतलब wrong है ऐसा नहीं बोल रहे. Frequently and misusing. Keep in check on them some sort of surveillance and punish them if objectively it is found that it has been misused for the wrong purpose. All of you are understanding? Some deterrence will be created. We are not saying that at the time of giving of information you cannot put any check. Try and understand the spirit. You cannot put in check before giving the information, because spirit of RTI says that except section 8 all the information must be put into the public domain. Any kind of hurdles you are trying to bring, you may address the question कि ये मैंने ऐसे कर दिया वैसे कर दिया, but you have not understood the very spirit of RTI and the logic of RTI. So your answer will be too much counterproductive and out of the context of the RTI. All of you are understanding? So the third point is, those person who objectively found out to be misusing the information, that their sort of deterrence can be created. The fourth point which you should mention and conclude with your answer is that what we are seeing, the question what it is saying, some of the people are drawing the information and misusing the information against them, that we will expose it. Now tell me, if you are transparent, what is there to expose? It means that there is something fishy in the system, something you are doing wrong, and then that information is being brought out. Let it be the most malified person of the country, but he is bringing some bad information. Think of only good information, what is going to do with the exposing the transparent system, which is already a transparent. It means that he is trying to bring in and blackmail with respect to something which is wrong. A person who is an honest man of integrity, following everything transparently, following the principle, why should he fear of giving any sort of information to anyone if nothing is bad? All of you are understanding? So it means that there are certain things within the system which the system is not comfortable with giving the information. To curb this, in fact, the next step forward is, nobody should come to the office. You should proactively disclose all the information, okay, electronically in the public domain. And we have to put that as a part of the legal obligation under the RTI. Okay, every single information has to be put in the public domain except what comes under the section 8. That's the spirit of RTI you have to follow. And if you can write certain contemporary observation also. There is a study by RAG group, RAAG. So RAG group says that less than 1% of the cases are only frivolous. So just, this is an alibi or the fear that is being generated that 1% of the information is frivolous और इसका इतना hype किया जा रहा है ताकि बहुत सारे hurdles लगाए जाएं, okay, in order to bring the process to more difficult level, so that 99% of the genuine system that is working in place will become difficult to follow. All of you are understanding? So in conclusion, you can say that the spirit of RTI is to bring the transparency in the process. Transparency is the biggest disinfectant, okay, and it will put whatever the happening in the public domain. If nothing is wrong, nobody can misuse the right information for the wrong purpose. How can anybody use the right information for the wrong purpose? It means that wrong information is being used with the malified purpose. So you can bring in the long term the reform, that two reforms are required, internal reforms, and second is putting the all the information electronically in public domain. Okay, so that is how you can conclude in saying, because that was challenge. Otherwise you can put lot many hurdles, but you are simply killing the spirit of RTI. The more you are saying कि मैं फॉर्म बनाऊंगा, उसके वो बताऊंगा, फिर FAQs बनाऊंगा, उनकी स्क्रूटनी करूंगा, ये बिठाऊंगा, वो बिठाऊंगा, that is going to create more problem for the RTI. Okay, thank you so much, and I hope